Chapter 2295. This, Zhao Hai's sudden retreat, left the twin-horned demon beast scratching its head in confusion. 2 moves in a row. Zhao Hai was clearly evenly matched with Ningyu. Under such circumstances, he really couldn't understand why Zhao Hai would suddenly retreat. Whoosh! However, the next moment, the twin-horned monster instantly understood. A figure suddenly sprang out from the red demon sword. Ninglu. The twin-horned monster recognized this warrior who had suddenly appeared. It was none other than Ninglu. His strength, feeling the terrifying aura emanating from Ninglu, the twin-horned monster's pupils shrank. The twin-horned monster clearly remembered that before Ninglu had entered the red demon sword, his strength wasn't particularly heaven-defying. But now, Ninglu gave him an unfathomable feeling. Block him for me. Seeing that Ninglu was about to catch up to him, Zhao Hai flicked his wrist and directly threw Zhao Fuqiang out. Zhao Fuqiang was instantly dumbfounded. He would never have imagined that Zhao Hai would use him as a shield. One must know that in the Zhao family, he was ranked second among the peerless geniuses. Was Zhao Hai not afraid that he would resist? Get lost! While Zhao Fuqiang was thinking, Ninglu had already arrived in front of him. With a punch, he directly sent him flying. Then, Ninglu no longer cared about him, turning to chase after Zhao Hai. Submit or die. Before one wave had even subsided, another wave arose. Zhao Fuqiang was just feeling happy for Ninglu's departure when Ningyu's indifferent words rang in his ears. I choose to submit. After thinking for only 3 seconds, Zhao Fuqiang chose to submit. Zhao Fuqiang was not a fool. Since Zhao Hai had chosen to betray him, then submitting to Ningyu was not a big deal. Since he could no longer return to the Zhao family, he might as well join forces with Ningyu to resist Zhao Hai. To be honest, Zhao Fuqiang's straightforward submission surprised Ningyu. Although he was surprised, Ningyu said in a clear voice, "Relax your mind." Whoosh! Zhao Fuqiang relaxed on the spot and acted as if he was ready to be trampled upon. Ningyu separated a wisp of soul power from his body and easily entered Zhao Fuqiang's heart. Very good. Slightly activating his soul power, Ningyu found that Zhao Fuqiang's whole body was twitching, showing a painful expression. Xiao! Ningyu didn't stay on the spot for too long before he tore space apart and chased after them. Ninglu had swallowed the World Tree branch, and his overall strength had increased a lot. However, Zhao Hai only sent his avatar. If his true body came, Ninglu would definitely be at a disadvantage. Under such circumstances, Ningyu naturally had to help Ninglu. Rumble. In the void, Zhao Hai and Ninglu were still fighting. After swallowing the tree branch of the world, Ninglu's ranking on the Lord of Heaven substitute list had reached the same level as that of Ningyu. He was even a few ranks higher than Ningyu. There was no doubt that Ninglu had the upper hand against Zhao Hai, who was only a clone. If you piss me off, my true body will come and kill you. Zhao Hai's face was cold as he forced Ninglu to retreat. Not to mention that your true body is not here. Even if your true body is here, I will still kill you, Ninglu said proudly. Ha ha ha. Zhao Hai seemed to have heard the funniest joke in the world. He threw his head back and laughed. Then he said, "My true body is a Lord of Heaven. Killing trash like you is easier than killing a dog." Really? At this moment, Ningyu tore space apart and appeared. Looking at Zhao Hai indifferently, Ningyu said, "If my guess is right, your true body should be trapped somewhere. Otherwise, your true body should have come long ago." "So what?" Zhao Hai said coldly. "Nothing. I just want to tell you that Zhao Fuqiang has surrendered to me and is now returning to the Zhao family. He wants to join forces with the Zhao family to deal with you." Ningyu touched his nose and showed an indifferent attitude. How dare he? Zhao Hai was furious. He was the ancestor of the Zhao family. Without his orders, who in the Zhao family would dare to listen to Zhao Fuqiang? "Why wouldn't I dare? I see that you are strong, so I want to give you a chance to live," Ningyu said indifferently. "Open your mind and surrender to me." "It turns out that you want me to surrender to you," Zhao Hai said coldly. "I'm just a clone. Even if I surrender to you, it will not help." Haha. Although you're only a doppelganger, if my guess is correct, this doppelganger of yours is very special," Ningyu said with a faint smile. Swish! Zhao Hai's face was gloomy. He didn't expect that he would be discovered by Ningyu, even though he hid so deeply. This feeling was worse than eating **T. At most, I will fight to the death. Zhao Hai didn't want to surrender. His body gradually expanded. As a Lord of Heaven, Zhao Hai still wanted to save face. If Ningyu was a Lord of Heaven, it would be reasonable for him to surrender. However, Ningyu wasn't a Lord of Heaven. He wasn't even a Saint Celestial. How could a Lord of Heaven like him surrender to a half-step Saint Celestial? As you wish. Ningyu and Ning Lu looked at each other and attacked at the same time. Boom! Boom! Whether it was Ningyu or Ning Lu, their combined strength was slightly stronger than Zhao Hai's clone. Zhao Hai naturally had no way to resist the two of them working together. Zhao Hai only lasted for 3 minutes before he was defeated. Bang! The sound of a body hitting the ground was heard. Zhao Hai's face was cold as he said fiercely, "Just you wait. Once my main body is free, the two of you will be the first to be killed." Red Demon Sword. Ningyu couldn't be bothered with Zhao Hai's nonsense. He took out the Red Demon Sword and stabbed it at Zhao Hai's neck. Whoosh! 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 A terrifying, devouring force shot out from the Red Demon Sword. Soon, Zhao Hai's avatar was devoured into a pile of human skin. The violent energy also entered Ningyu's body through the Red Demon Sword. Oh no! Ningyu's expression changed slightly when he sensed the increase in energy in his body. What's wrong? Ning Lu asked. I can sense that the great Saint Immortal Tribulation is coming. Ningyu's expression was extremely grave. Although the success rate of transcending the great Saint Immortal Tribulation was high, it was not suitable. First of all, this was Kuin Su City. Transcending the tribulation here would definitely attract many powerhouses to watch. The best way was to leave Kuin Su City and find a safe place to transcend the tribulation. However, it was not very wise to leave Kuin Su City now. Ningyu was in a dilemma. Go back. Ningyu gritted his teeth and said in a deep voice, I have a lot of energy in my body. I need another source of energy to balance it. What Ningyu needed to do now was to maintain the energy in his body at a stable point. Otherwise, it would definitely attract the attention of the Saint Immortal Tribulation. Maintaining energy was easier said than done. The energy in Zhao Hai's clone was extremely terrifying. Even if he devoured Sun Hao and Hong Su, he might not be able to balance it. Boom, boom. However, as soon as Ningyu returned to the Hong family, he found Hong Su and his son Hao lying on the ground. They had turned into human skin. Chapter 2296. Save me. Seeing that Ningyu had returned, the twin-horned demonic beast was overjoyed, and it hurriedly said, Zhao Fuqiang burned the Heaven Monarch's quintessence and forcefully devoured Sun Hao and Hong Su, breaking free from your control over him. Whoosh! Ningyu's expression turned grave when he heard the twin-horned demonic beast's words. Burning the Heaven Monarch's origin meant that Zhao Fuqiang had been forced to the edge of the cliff. You should know, once Zhao Fuqiang lost the Heaven Monarch origin, it meant that if he wanted to return to the Heaven Monarch realm, he would need to condense the origin again. How difficult was it to condense the Heavenly Monarch's source? Even top geniuses wouldn't dare to say that they could condense it whenever they wanted, let alone Zhao Fuqiang. You could say so. By doing so, Zhao Fuqiang had completely given up his plan to become a Lord of Heaven again. Ningyu, this is all thanks to you. So, I've decided to give you a big present. Zhao Fuqiang's face was cold as he waved his hand. The two-horned demonic beast, the Dark Emperor, Hong Yu, and the rest flew towards him. Come here, kneel before me, or I'll take their lives. Zhao Fuqiang took a step forward and said fiercely, You cut off my path to becoming a Lord of Heaven. I will make you live in guilt for the rest of your life. Ningyu, run. That's right. Hurry up and leave. Don't worry about us. Where there's life, there's hope. Zhao Fuqiang's current comprehensive strength is even more terrifying than Zhao Hai's doppelganger. Don't listen to Zhao Fuqiang's nonsense. Even if you kneel before him, He will never let us go. It was as if he was afraid that Ning Yu would do something stupid. Hong Yu, the Dark Emperor, and the others all shouted with all their might. Noisy, Zhao Fuqiang growled and raised his right hand to slap Hong Yu's cheek. Pa! It was a critical moment. Ning Yu moved, with both feet on the ground. Ning Yu came to Hong Yue in an instant. Xiao Chun waved his right hand and clashed with Zhao Fuqiang's palm. As the two collided, Ning Yu and Zhao Fuqiang both took several steps back. This blow, Ning Yu and Zhao Fuqiang were evenly matched. Why are you so strong? After stabilizing his body, Zhao Fuqiang clenched his fists and stared coldly at Ning Yu. Tell me, did you control Zhao Hai's avatar? Around 10th place on the Heavenly Lord substitute list. Without answering Zhao Fuqiang's question, Ning Yu rubbed his slightly swollen palm and said indifferently, You've saved me a lot of trouble by devouring Sun Hao and Hong Su. Before devouring Zhao Hai's clone, Ning Yu could only flee when facing Zhao Fuqiang, who was in the top 10 of the Heaven Monarch substitute list. However, after devouring Zhao Hai's avatar, Ning Yu's overall strength had more than doubled. Putting aside the fact that Zhao Fuqiang could squeeze into 10th place on the Heavenly Monarch substitute list, even if he could squeeze into the 9th or even the 8th place, Ning Yu would still be fearless, because Ning Yu's current strength was enough to rank 7th on the Heavenly Lord substitute list. Arrogant, Zhao Fuqiang shouted in a low voice. I gave up the opportunity to become a Heavenly Lord just to kill you with my own hands. Today, no one can help you. Swish! As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Fuqiang turned into a shadow and suddenly drilled into the void. Seeing Zhao Fuqiang disappear, Ning Yu did not panic. Instead, he turned to Ning Lu and said, I'll deal with Zhao Fuqiang. You go and remove the control on the Dark Emperor and the others. Understood. Be careful. Ning Lu nodded and immediately rushed towards the Dark Emperor. As for Ning Yu, he stood where he was with his eyes slightly closed. Crack! In an instant, the void in front of Ning Yu cracked. A fist containing terrifying energy fluctuations suddenly smashed towards his head. The power of this punch had reached its peak. If Ning Yu was hit by the fist, his head would probably explode on the spot. You've put in a lot of effort to kill me. Ning Yu abruptly opened his eyes when he sensed the fist coming at him. Die! Zhao Fuqiang's low voice rang in Ning Yu's ears. As he spoke, Zhao Fuqiang increased the power of this punch again, trying to kill Ning Yu with one move. However, just as Zhao Fuqiang's fist was about to hit Ning Yu's head, Ning Yu's figure gradually became illusory. Oh no! The sudden change made Zhao Fuqiang's expression change greatly. I'm here. An indifferent and emotionless voice came from behind Zhao Fuqiang. Swish! Hearing that, Zhao Fuqiang hurriedly turned around. Hiss! Zhao Fuqiang sucked in a breath of cold air when he turned around, because he found that a fist was gradually enlarging in his pupils. Damn it! Zhao Fuqiang cursed. While retreating, he gathered the divine qi in his body on his fist and punched back. Crack! A crisp sound was heard. This time, Ning Yu stood on the spot without moving, whereas Zhao Fuqiang retreated an entire 10 meters back, and he only stopped when he collided with the ground. Ning Yu will meet again. Zhao Fuqiang knew that he was no match for Ning Yu. Therefore, he immediately decided to escape. Of course, before escaping, Zhao Fuqiang did not forget to say some harsh words. However, sometimes life and death were decided in an instant. If Zhao Fuqiang had not said those harsh words and delayed for a few seconds, he might have been able to escape. Because of the few seconds he delayed, Ning Yu suddenly appeared in front of him with the red demon's sword in his hand. Poof! The red demon sword suddenly stabbed out. The sword pierced into Zhao Fuqiang's heart. Devour! Ning Yu did not stay idle. The devouring power in his body surged out wildly and entered Zhao Fuqiang's heart through the red demon's sword. Whoosh! Endless energy entered Ning Yu's body through the red demon's sword. Suppress! Ning Yu hurriedly set up a small formation around him. Then he sat down cross-legged and began to consume Zhao Fuqiang's energy. As there was the energy of Zhao Hai's clone in his body, Ningyu needed to find enough energy to harmonize with it. Otherwise, it would not be long before Ningyu underwent the Saint Immortal Tribulation. Boom! As soon as the two energies came into contact, a huge conflict broke out. Fortunately, Ningyu was prepared and left a seal between the two energies. Otherwise, just the shock wave of the two energies would be enough to make him fail. On the other side, Ningyu was maintaining the stability of the two energies. On the other side, Ning Lu was helping the Dark Emperor and the others break the seal in their bodies. After Zhao Fuqiang controlled the Dark Emperor and the others, he left a terrifying seal in each of them. Originally, Zhao Fuqiang wanted to use the Dark Emperor and the others to threaten Ningyu. However, for some reason, he seemed to have lost his mind and attacked Ningyu. In the end, he suffered a grievance. Ning Lu was very strong, and his main body was the World Tree. Helping the Dark Emperor and the others break the seal in their bodies didn't consume too much strength. All right, in just 10 minutes, the seal in the Dark Emperor and Scarlet Moon's bodies was removed. Phew! Feeling the seal in their bodies being broken, the Dark Emperor and the others heaved a sigh of relief. Honestly, when there was a seal in their bodies, the Dark Emperor and the others even thought of committing suicide to avoid burdening Ningyu. Fortunately, Ningyu defeated Zhao Fuqiang, and Ning Lu helped them break the seal. This little bastard is really lucky. No one noticed. Chapter 2297. Ningyu did not know about Su He's evil thoughts. He was trying his best to maintain the stability of the two energies in his body. To Ningyu, after devouring Zhao Hai's clone, he could be ranked 7th on the Heavenly Lord substitute list. Now, after devouring Zhao Fuqiang, he could be ranked 6th on the Heavenly Lord substitute list. However, this was not Ningyu's final goal. Once he stabilized the two energies in his body, Ningyu was confident that he could squeeze into the top 5 of the Heavenly Lord substitute list. Bang! Time flew by. In the blink of an hour had passed. When a muffled sound came from Ningyu's body, Ningyu's nervous expression finally eased. Phew! Ningyu let out a breath of turbid air and looked happy. This hour was not in vain. Although he had stabilized the two energies in his body, Ningyu did not lose his mind. He knew that the most important thing was not to be happy, but to deal with the matter in front of him first. The Hong clan's patriarch, Hong Su, and the Sun clan's patriarch, Sun Hao, were all dead. At this moment, everyone from the Sun clan and the Hong clan were like headless flies. Under such circumstances, what Ningyu needed to do was to do everything possible to integrate the Sun clan, the Hong clan, and the other clans. As far as he knew, the Su clan was the leader of the 3 great clans in Koensu City. Ningyu did not waste any time. He returned to the main hall and glanced at everyone. He then said in a deep voice, "I have decided to establish a force called Supreme Palace." Thump! Hong Tung was very sensible. As soon as Ningyu's voice fell, he suddenly knelt on the ground and said in a clear voice, "Master, I am willing to join Supreme Palace. From now on, I will listen to your orders." Old Fox. Seeing Hong Tung's performance, the other 4 second-rate clans' patriarchs all cursed. Ningyu's performance just now had made them completely surrender. He had killed 2 Zhao clan's patriarchs by himself. Now that Ningyu wanted to establish Supreme Palace, they had to support him immediately. "We are also willing to join Supreme Palace." The heads of the 4 second-rate clans looked at each other and knelt in front of Ningyu. They said, "Also, let the members of the clans join the Supreme Hall and become a member." "Very good." Ningyu nodded his head and said, "I will give you all 1 day. After 1 day, I want to see a complete Supreme Palace." "Yes." Hong Tung and the 4 family heads answered in unison. Next, Ningyu briefly introduced the structure of Supreme Palace, then left the Hong family with the Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, and the others. "Who?" Hong Tung and the others heaved a sigh of relief when Ningyu and the others left. To be honest, the pressure that Ningyu gave them was too great. With Ningyu around, they didn't even dare to breathe heavily. "Ningyu, Aren't you worried that Hong Tung and the others will betray us? On the streets of Koan Sioux City, Sui rolled his eyes and said, I know Hong Tung very well. He's an ingrate. Once he gets the chance, he'll definitely betray us. Russell, Ningyu stopped and turned to look at Su He. He said with interest, Do you want to consider joining Supreme Palace? Me? Su He pointed at his nose and then shook his head. I'm very weak. I'll only be a burden if I join Supreme Palace. Humph. Don't try to be smart. Ningyu snorted and said coldly, You better hope that you have a good relationship with Suing. Otherwise, you should know the consequences. A trace of panic flashed through Su-hee's eyes when he heard Ning Yu's threatening words. However, this trace of panic was well hidden by Su-hee. He patted his chest and promised, I do have a good relationship with Su-ing. Don't worry. When we get to the Su family, I'll find a way for you to get close to her. Ningyu, I don't recommend going to the Su family now. As if worried about this trip to the Su family, Ning Lu said in a deep voice, The Su family is the leader of the 3 major families in Koinsu City. It's easy to imagine how powerful they are. If we just barge in like this, we'll inevitably encounter unnecessary trouble. Who told you we're barging in? Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, With Su-hee leading the way, we can easily enter the Su family. Him? Ning Lu pointed at Su-hee and said in disdain, This brat definitely has bad intentions. I suspect that he'll definitely betray us when we get to the Su family. That's a problem. Ningyu frowned and fell into deep thought. Seeing the change in Ningyu's expression, Su-hee hurriedly said, It's not a problem. How can it be a problem? I, Su-hee, have always been honest and upright. I'll never betray anyone. Su-hee said this righteously. Those who didn't know might really be tricked by him. This is simple. The double-horned demonic beast spat out a mouthful of saliva and handed it to Su-hee, saying, Swallow it. If you didn't betray Ningyu, I will naturally give you the antidote 3 days later. However, if you betray Ningyu, even if a heaven monarch expert appears, they will not be able to stop you. I can't save you either. Sui's expression became ugly. He knew that Ningyu wouldn't let him off so easily, but he hadn't expected that he would be forced to swallow the saliva of the twin-horned demonic beast. What, you don't want to? The double-horned demonic beast raised its eyebrows and said indifferently, It's fine if you don't want to. People like you will definitely betray their friends. It's better to kill you now and put an end to all troubles. Whoosh! During the conversation, the twin-horned demonic beast figure flashed and arrived in front of the Void River. Then, it used its head to ram into the Void River. I'll swallow. Seeing the twin-horned monster that kept attacking him, Su-hee couldn't care less. He immediately threw his saliva into his mouth. Gulp! He swallowed his saliva. Su-hee let out a burp. Then, Su-hee's cheeks turned black. Fortunately, Su-hee's cheeks did not turn black for too long and soon returned to normal. Otherwise, Su-hee wouldn't even have tears to cry. Not bad. The twin-horned demonic beast was very satisfied with the change in Su-hee's expression. It nodded and said, Kid, you better behave yourself. Don't think of finding someone to break it. Otherwise, you'll be the one suffering. I won't. How can I find someone to break it? Su-hee revealed a bitter expression. Dark Emperor, Ning Lu, the 2 of you enter the Red Devil Sword first. Ningyu waved his hand and instructed, I'll go to the Su clan alone. The 2 of you don't need to come out for now. All right, be careful. Ning Lu and the Dark Emperor didn't give Ningyu any trouble. Their figures flashed and entered the Red Devil Sword. What about me? The twin-horned demonic beast was puzzled. Do you still need me to tell you? Of course, you'll go wherever you want. You're such a big target. It's hard to avoid being discovered. Ningyu rolled his eyes at the twin-horned demonic beast and immediately moved toward the Su clan. I don't want to see you. Ningyu's act of burning the bridge after crossing it caused the twin-horned demonic beast to curse. Bang! Chapter 2298. The twin-horned demonic beast's unreasonable request made Su-hee hesitate. His original plan was to enter the Su clan and find a heavenly monarch expert to help him get rid of the control in his body. However, The twin-horned demonic beast's request to hide in his body put him in a difficult position. It should be known that the twin-horned demonic beast was also very powerful. Moreover, the two-legged demonic beast hiding in his body meant that no matter what he did, he could not hide from the twin-horned demonic beast. In short, with the twin-horned demonic beast around, he had to think twice before he did anything. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and open your mind. While Suhi was thinking, the twin-horned demonic beast kicked him again. All right, Suhi had no choice but to open his mind unwillingly. Swish! As soon as Suhi opened his mind, the twin-horned demonic beast turned into a shadow and hid in Suhi's body. Hiss! Suhi could not help but gasp when he sensed where the twin-horned demonic beast was hiding. Heart! The twin-horned demonic beast was hiding in his heart. In other words, as long as the twin-horned demonic beast wanted to, it could kill him at any time. Damn it! However, Suhi had no other choice at this moment. He cursed in his heart and immediately moved to chase after Ningyu. As the leader of the three major clans of Koensu City, the Su clan was located in the center of Koensu City and occupied an extremely large area. Before long, Ningyu and Suhi arrived at the main gate of the Su clan. Go away. As soon as Ningyu and Suhi stopped, a manservant guarding the gate of the Su clan waved his hand impatiently and said coldly, "This is the Su clan's important place. No one is allowed to enter." Oomph. Hearing the manservant's words, Suhi was so angry that his nose became crooked. In front of Ningyu and the twin-horned demonic beast, he did not dare to act rashly. After all, he was weaker than Ningyu and the twin-horned demonic beast. However, a mere gatekeeper dared to speak to him like this? Did he really think he was made of mud? Taking a step forward, Suhi suddenly released his aura and snorted. Open your dog eyes and see who I am. I don't care who you are. The old ancestor has personally said that an esteemed guest has arrived in the Su clan today. Even if the heavenly king himself were to come, he would have to scram. The manservant's reaction was beyond Suhi's expectations. The servant took out a golden token and coldly said, "Young master, he please." You. Suhi almost went crazy from anger. However, he still had some rationality. The servant was holding the token of the Su clan's old ancestor. The ancestor of the Su clan had once said that seeing the token was equivalent to seeing him. Therefore, no matter how unwilling Suhi was, he could only choose to endure. So he turned to look at Ningyu and suggested, "Ningyu, why don't we find a place to recuperate for a few days? After the esteemed guest from the Su clan leaves, we can—" "Oh, isn't this Suhi? Why are you standing at the door and not going in?" However, before Shuhei could finish his words, a sinister voice sounded in his ears. "Void Leopard." He looked in the direction of the voice. Suhi said in a deep voice, "What does it have to do with you whether I enter or not?" "Of course it has something to do with me." The lips of the man called Void Leopard curled up. "A good dog doesn't block the way. A dog that blocks the way isn't good. You're blocking my way by standing here." Suhi clenched his fists and said coldly, "Who are you calling a dog?" Void Leopard shrugged and said, "Whoever blocks my way is a dog." Ha! The cultivators behind Void Leopard all laughed mockingly. Scram. Today, the main entrance of the Su clan is only open to a few people. As for trash like you, go and crawl through the dog hole. Dog hole? In my opinion, he can't even enter the dog hole. Oh, what do you mean? It's simple. There's a dog guarding the dog hole. Do you think anyone can go in? Ha ha ha. As they spoke, another wave of laughter rang out. When had Suhi ever endured such humiliation? Although he couldn't enter the top 5 among the younger generation of the Su clan, he could be ranked in the top 10. Logically speaking, even if there was an esteemed guest from the Su clan, there was no way they wouldn't let him in through the main entrance. There was definitely something fishy about all this. Stop messing around. Void Leopard clearly didn't wish to waste time here. He took out a token from his bosom and tossed it to the manservant. Ha! The manservant caught the token and took a look. Subsequently, he said respectfully, "Please enter. Let's go." Void Leopard moved his feet and walked straight towards the Su clan. When he passed by Ningyu, Void Leopard paused for a moment and said indifferently, "There's no future following Su-He, that trash. If you're interested, you can come and look for me." Finishing this sentence, Void Leopard entered the Su clan without even turning back. What's there to be proud about? When Void Leopard vanished from sight, Su-He said viciously, "Isn't it just having a father with authority? If my father is in charge of the Su clan's elixir concoction, my strength can at least be ranked in the top 3 of the Su clan's younger generation. Even if he doesn't have a father with authority, you are still worlds apart from him." Looking at Su-He, Ningyu said without any politeness, "One shouldn't look at how Void Leopard's performance was rather savage. His overall strength was abnormally formidable. On the Heavenly Monarch substitute role, Void Leopard should be able to rank in the top 500. Of course, putting aside the fact that Void Leopard was ranked in the top 500, even if he was ranked in the top 300 or even the top 100, Ningyu is still fearless. The reason why Ningyu paid more attention to Void Leopard was that he sensed a trace of familiar aura on Void Leopard's body. Suing. That's right, there was Su Ying's aura on Void Leopard's body. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu walked toward the manservant guarding the door step by step. "What are you trying to do?" Seeing Ningyu walking towards him, the manservant said in a cold voice, "Quickly stop for me. Otherwise, don't blame me for not being courteous. Don't do anything foolish." Ningyu's actions made Su-He turn pale with fright as he hurriedly reminded. The manservant had the Patriarch's token in his hand. Seeing the token was akin to seeing the Patriarch. Su-He was afraid that Ningyu would infuriate the Patriarch and implicate him. Otherwise, how could he stop Ningyu? "Let us in, and I won't expose the shady business between you and Void Leopard." Ningyu's expression was calm as he transmitted his voice to the manservant. Swish! Hearing that, the manservant's eyes flickered and a raging wave rose in his heart. He stopped Su-He from entering the Su family because he was instructed by Void Leopard. No matter what, Su-He was also a top 10 absolute genius in the Su family. Without anyone backing him up, how could he, a manservant guarding the door, dare to offend Su-He? "I don't know what you're talking about." After thinking for a moment, the manservant said in a deep voice, "My duty is to guard here and prevent all thieves from entering the Su family. Since you have no ill intentions towards the Su family, I'll let you in." Su-He was completely dumbfounded and his face was filled with black lines. He did not expect that he, a top 10 absolute genius in the Su family, would be blocked outside. And Ningyu, who was not a member of the Su family, was actually allowed in. Sha. Ningyu did not care about Su-He and entered the Su family directly. As for Su-He, Chapter 2299. Damn it, don't let me bump into you again. In the future, every time I touch you, I will hit you once. After entering the Su family through the dog hole, Su-He and Ningyu gathered together. However, Su-He kept roaring in anger, full of unwillingness. Things had come to this, so he could see some clues. The servant guarding the door must have been instructed by Void Leopard. After all, he was one of the top 10 peerless geniuses in the Su family. It was impossible for him to be stopped outside. "You trash." In Su-He's heart, the double-horned beast was so angry that its nostrils were on fire. If he had known earlier, he would have begged Ningyu. Even if it was attached to a flying sword, it would be much better than being attached to Su-He's body. With Su-He, he went through the dog hole for the first time in his life. Ant could endure it, but he couldn't. Puff, puff, puff. The double-horned beast scurried around in Su-He's body, causing him to spit out blood. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. At this moment, several figures approached from afar and suddenly arrived in front of Ningyu and Su-He. Void Leopard. These figures were none other than Void Leopard and the rest that he had met outside the Su family. "I'm curious, why didn't you go through the dog hole?" Void Leopard crossed his arms in front of his chest and stared at Ningyu with interest. He asked doubtfully, "Why did the servant guarding the door let you in?" "Very simple. I exposed the secret between you and him," Ningyu said indifferently. Swoosh. Void Leopard's expression instantly turned cold. However, Void Leopard's cold expression only lasted for an instant before returning to normal. He smiled. You really know how to joke. I wonder if you're interested in coming to my place for a chat? I would love to. Ningyu knew what Void Leopard was planning, but he was not afraid at all. Void Leopard's invitation was exactly what he wanted. His goal in coming to the Su family was to find Su Ying. Void Leopard had Su Ying's aura, which meant that he had seen Su Ying recently. From Void Leopard, he might be able to get some news about Su Ying. Let's go. Ningyu's straightforward answer caused Void Leopard to be slightly surprised. However, Su Bao was indeed a peerless genius of the Su clan. He waved his hand and said, "My residence is not far from here." Whoosh! During the conversation, the Void Leopard's figure flashed as it flew into the distance. Voila! Void Leopard's friends did not stop and followed closely behind Void Leopard. Let's go too. Since he had decided to find a breakthrough from Void Leopard, Ningyu naturally would not be stupid enough to refuse Void Leopard. He glanced at Su He, then stomped on the ground and dashed away. The facts proved that Void Leopard did not deceive Ningyu. In just 10 seconds, they arrived at the Void Leopard's residence. You guys stand guard here. Without my permission, don't let anyone in. Su Bao instructed the warrior behind him before pushing open the door and walking in. Creak! Without any hesitation, Ningyu followed the Void Leopard into the room. As for Su He, he was stopped by Void Leopard's servant. Su He wanted to get angry, but he knew that he was not Void Leopard's opponent. Hence, he could only stay outside the door. Whoosh! As soon as he entered the room, Ningyu felt a gust of wind blowing against his face. The gust of wind was extremely terrifying. If an ordinary peak stage Saint Immortal expert was unlucky enough to be hit by the gust of wind, he would be crippled even if he did not die. Not bad. Void Leopard casually found a chair to sit on and said to Ningyu, "To be able to block the attack of the Nirvana Divine Formation so easily, it means that your strength is much stronger than that trash." Sui. Nirvana Divine Formation. Ningyu slightly unleashed his perception. As expected, there was an extremely terrifying formation in the room. This formation was much more terrifying than the indestructible divine formation that he encountered in the Hong clan. Now, tell me where you came from. Void Leopard's right hand lightly knocked on the table and said faintly, "Why did you enter the Su clan? Do you want to spy on the Su clan's secrets?" While they were talking, Void Leopard suddenly unleashed his aura. Together with the impact from a Nirvana Divine Formation, he suddenly pressed against Ningyu. Recently, it could be said that the Su clan was in troubled times. It was unknown who leaked the news that the Su clan knew the whereabouts of the Tree of World. This situation could be described as a stone that caused 1,000 ripples. How precious was the Tree of World? Even Heavenly Monarch experts could not resist the Tree of World. Therefore, in the past few months, there would be experts risking their lives to enter the Su clan to spy on the Tree of World. Obviously, Void Leopard also regarded Ningyu as the person who was trying to spy on the Su clan. You misunderstood. I am not trying to spy on the Su clan secrets. Ningyu casually waved his hand and said faintly, "I only have one purpose in coming here, and that is to look for Su Ying." Swish! Seeing that Ningyu easily blocked his aura, Void Leopard's expression changed slightly. However, he was even more shocked when Ningyu mentioned Su Ying. You still dare to say that you are not trying to spy on the Su clan's secrets? Void Leopard's expression turned cold and he said fiercely, "I don't care what you are trying to say. Anyway, if you dare to barge into the Su clan, there's only one outcome for you, death." Nirvana Divine Formation, activate. With a low shout, the Void Leopard completely activated the Nirvana Divine Formation. Void Leopard had absolute confidence. Although the Nirvana Divine Formation was not the Su clan's strongest formation, it could be ranked in the top 5 of all the Su clan's formations. Being trapped in the Nirvana Divine Formation, unless Ningyu could squeeze into the top 100 of the Heavenly Monarch substitute list, he would definitely be captured. Top 100 of the Heavenly Monarch substitute list? Was that possible? The answer was obviously that it was possible. What nonsense is this? Break it for me. Ningyu casually threw a few punches. Crack, crack, crack. A crisp sound was heard. In just 3 punches, Ningyu had blasted the Nirvana Divine Formation's 3 formation cores. The destruction of the formation cores meant that the Nirvana Divine Formation had lost its power. How is this possible? Void Leopard yelled, his face filled with disbelief. There's nothing that's impossible. Ningyu came in front of Void Leopard and said, I will ask you a few questions. I hope you can answer them honestly. Don't even think about it. Void Leopard said coldly, revealing an unruly expression. Slap. Ningyu raised his right hand and slapped Void Leopard's cheek. Crack. This slap directly knocked out several of Void Leopard's teeth. I don't want to listen to your nonsense. You have to understand that even if I kill you and devour your memories, I can still find out what I want to know. Ningyu said indifferently. Answer me. Where is Suing? Void Leopard's expression was gloomy and uncertain, as though he was having an intense mental struggle. A moment later, Void Leopard gritted his teeth and said, Su Ing is imprisoned in the Su clan's heavenly prison. Without the Patriarch's key, no one can enter. Heavenly prison? Ningyu's expression turned grave. For a super force like the Su clan, the construction of their heavenly prison would definitely be very complicated and sturdy. Even if a heavenly monarch expert entered, it would be hard for him to escape. Chapter 2300. Seeing Ningyu's solemn expression, Void Leopard's eyes moved, feeling that the opportunity had arrived. Sorting out his thoughts, Void Leopard said, The Su family's sky prison is incomparably dangerous. Without the Ancestor's key, you can forget about entering in your lifetime, unless, speaking up to here, Void Leopard paused slightly and did not continue. Although Void Leopard did not say it, the meaning was self-evident. Let Ningyu beg him. However, Ningyu's actions exceeded Void Leopard's expectations. He did ask, but what he asked was not how to enter the Su family sky prison. I heard that your father is in charge of the Su family's pill room. Ningyu withdrew his thoughts, looked at Void Leopard, and said coolly, Think of a way to call your father over. I have something to ask him. Today, the Su family has an esteemed guest. My father should be going to accompany that esteemed guest. Void Leopard revealed a troubled expression. Then forget it. Since you can't call your father over, it means that keeping you alive is already useless. Ningyu shrugged, then clenched his right hand into a fist and smashed toward Void Leopard's head. Chi-chi. Fist winds howled. Ningyu's fist arrived before Void Leopard's head in the blink of an eye. I can bring you to the Su family's pill room. At the critical moment, Void Leopard hurriedly shouted. Swoosh! Hearing this, when Ningyu's fist was still a finger length away from Void Leopard, it suddenly stopped. Who? Seeing Ningyu stop, Void Leopard could not help but let out a long sigh, thinking that it was a close call. Fortunately, he was quick-witted. Otherwise, this day next year would be his death anniversary. My father is in charge of the Su family's pill room, so I can come and go freely. In order to gain Ningyu's trust, Void Leopard hurriedly took out a key from his bosom and said, The Su family's pill room has a total of 3 floors. This key can open the door to the 3rd floor. Taking the key from Void Leopard's hand, Ningyu unleashed his perception and started to probe inside the key. As time passed, Ningyu's expression became increasingly grave. There was no other reason. He sensed an extremely terrifying aura from the key. This aura was extremely terrifying. Even though he was ranked 5th on the Heaven Lord substitute list, he still felt a deep sense of fear. This key was given to me by my father. There's no mistaking it. Seemingly noticing the trace of unhappiness on Ningyu's face, Void Leopard hurriedly explained. There's nothing wrong with the key. Now, open your mind and let me control it. Ningyu put away the key and said indifferently to the Void Leopard. This all right. Void Leopard hesitated, but in the end, he still chose to compromise and let his mind completely relax. Whoosh! Ningyu separated a bit of his soul force and drilled into the Void Leopard's heart. Hiss! Feeling the soul force that had suddenly appeared in his heart, Void Leopard could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. His complexion turned somewhat pale. Void Leopard knew that as long as Ningyu activated the soul force in his heart, he would definitely die. In other words, his fate was now completely under Ningyu's control. Very good. Ningyu nodded his head in satisfaction. Then, he turned around and walked out of the room, saying, "Lead the way to the Su clan's elixir room." Yes, even his life was in Ningyu's hands. How could Void Leopard dare to be negligent? He hurriedly jogged to the door and opened it, leading the way for Ningyu. Creak. Outside the room, Suhi paced back and forth with an abnormally anxious expression. To Suhi, he wanted Ningyu to be killed by Void Leopard, but he was also afraid that after Ningyu was killed, he would become Void Leopard's target. Sui's heart was filled with complex emotions. Just at this moment, the tightly shut door was slowly pushed open. Suhi looked over and saw Void Leopard walking at the very front, while Ningyu followed by Void Leopard's side. It's over. Sui's expression became very ugly. It was obvious that he thought that Ningyu was being controlled by Void Leopard. All of you guard here. If someone comes to find me, just say that I'm in closed-door training and it's not convenient to meet people. Void Leopard did not even look at Suhi. He gave a few instructions and then left. What's going on? Seeing Void Leopard's actions, Suhi scratched his head. He was a little confused. What are you standing there for? Hurry up and follow them. While Suhi was in a daze, the two-horned demonic beast hidden in his body kicked his internal organs and said in a deep voice, "If you lose them, I'll take your little life." Okay, I'll go now. Suhi did not dare to disobey the two-horned demonic beast. His feet stepped on the ground and hurriedly followed behind Ningyu and Void Leopard. Because Void Leopard's position in the Su clan was very high, many people greeted him along the way. Of course, the Void Leopard maintained a cold and gloomy expression, shuttling left and right. 10 minutes later, Void Leopard finally stopped. Pointing at the 3-story building in front, Void Leopard said, "This is the elixir room. There are a total of 3 floors. Don't talk nonsense. Hurry up and go in." Ningyu interrupted Void Leopard's words and transmitted, "You should know what should be said and what shouldn't be said." Understood. Void Leopard nodded his head and immediately walked towards the building. Halt! The elixir room was an important place of the Su clan. There would definitely be experts guarding it. This was impossible. The one guarding the elixir room was an old man called Sukai. Sukai stretched out his right hand and said coolly, "Su clan's important place. Unauthorized people are not allowed to enter." "Uncle Kai, it's me, Void Leopard," Void Leopard said. "Void Leopard?" Sukai frowned slightly, seemingly recalling if there was such a person. After a while, Sukai did not seem to remember who Void Leopard was. He said in a deep voice, "Without the token, no one can enter." Hearing Sukai's words, Void Leopard's face was full of black lines. He really could not understand why his father would send Sukai to guard the elixir room. In such a huge Su clan, everyone knew that Sukai had amnesia. Basically, he would immediately forget the words said to him in front. "Here's your token." With no other choice, Void Leopard could only take out a token and throw it to Sukai. Originally, Void Leopard did not want to expose the token, because as long as he took out the token, it would definitely be recorded. If Ningyu were to wreak havoc in the elixir room, it would all be on his head. However, because of Sukai's amnesia, he had to show the token before he could enter. After checking the token, Sukai placed his right hand on the stone door and exerted force. Creak! The stone door slowly opened. "Let's go." Just as the stone door was pushed open, Void Leopard took the lead and walked in. Ningyu did not hesitate. He followed closely behind Void Leopard and tried his best to conceal his aura, because he felt a terrifying aura from Sukai's body. As expected, Sukai's true cultivation should be half-step Heaven Monarch. Ningyu did not wish to expose himself too early. After all, this was a Su clan. Even if his strength doubled, it would be hard to escape when facing the numerous experts of the Su clan. The plan now was to increase his strength as soon as possible and strive to increase his cultivation by several times before he was discovered. Go straight to the 3rd floor. After entering the elixir room, Ningyu did not waste any time and headed straight for the 3rd floor. Not long later, Ningyu, Void Leopard, and Suhi arrived at the entrance of the 3rd floor. Void Leopard, you can even bring outsiders here? I think you are tired of living. Chapter 23:01. Swoosh. He looked in the direction of the voice. Ningyu saw that at the entrance of the third floor, a young man in gray was leaning against the door with an evil smile. It's my right to bring in whoever I want. What does it have to do with you? Void Leopard expression turned extremely cold as he said fiercely, Xieming, don't be arrogant in front of me just because someone is backing you up. If you anger me, I'll take your life. Oh, you want my life? Hee hee. The young man called Xieming smiled and said, I want to see if you dare to kill me today. A good dog doesn't block the way. I have something important to do today. I don't have time to mess around with you here. Void Leopard said coldly. You can come in, but you have to get through me first. As he spoke, Xieming stomped on the ground and charged at Void Leopard at a terrifying speed. Chi-chi. Xieming's speed was so fast that he arrived in front of Void Leopard in an instant. Bang! At the critical moment, Void Leopard had no choice but to extend his right hand and collide with Xieming's fist. The two collided. A crisp sound rang out. Xieming stood on the spot and didn't move. On the other hand, the Void Leopard retreated dozens of feet before stabilizing itself. Poochie! Blood spurted out from his mouth. Void Leopard's aura began to decline rapidly. Overestimating yourself. After defeating Void Leopard in one move, Xieming shrugged and said, If it wasn't for your cheap father, I would have killed you long ago. Why would I leave you alive until now? I was just worrying that no one would take the blame for me. You came. Just nice. The Su clan will blame the loss of the medicinal pills on you. Puff. Hearing Xieming's words, Void Leopard spurted out another mouthful of blood. His already weak aura became even weaker. Now he finally understood. Xieming's goal in entering the elixir room was similar to Ningyu's, to snatch the medicinal pills. The only difference was that Ningyu came in openly, while Xieming came in secretly. I'll take these medicinal pills first. You guys stay behind and take the blame. Xieming fished out a space ring from his bosom and shook it. Then he tore open space and dove in. Xiao. However, how could Ningyu allow Xieming to leave? His purpose in coming to the elixir room was to obtain elixirs, not to take the blame for Xieming. Ningyu's figure flickered as he punched at the void. The next moment, a miserable shriek that sounded like a pig being slaughtered came from the void. Kacha! Immediately after, Xieming was blasted out of the void and landed heavily on the ground, his face flat on the ground. Some of his teeth had even fallen out. Your strength. Xieming struggled to get up from the ground and pointed at Ningyu. His face was filled with disbelief as he said, How can he be so strong? Hand over the pill, and I can spare your life. Ningyu stepped forward and said calmly, Ha ha. Hearing this, Xieming threw his head back and laughed maniacally. After laughing, Xieming changed the topic and said coldly, The pill is in my hands. Come and take it if you can. To tell you the truth, if you dare to take another step forward, I will destroy it. To intimidate Ningyu, Xieming held the space ring in his left hand, and a terrifying flame appeared on the tip of his right hand. It was obvious. If Ningyu dared to take another step forward, Xieming would definitely burn the space ring and destroy the pills inside. Don't struggle pointlessly. Ningyu maintained his calm expression. He took half a step back, rubbed his nose, and said, If you have the ability, then destroy the ring. You. Xieming did not think that Ningyu would not fall for it. For a moment, he was in a dilemma. Destroy the ring? What a joke. Xieming was not an idiot. Once the ring was destroyed, Ningyu would definitely kill him. With the ring in hand, he had the right to negotiate with Ningyu. How about this? We split the pills in the ring in half. Xieming's eyes flickered, and he said in a low voice, No one is taking advantage of you. No, it all belongs to me. Ningyu shook his head and said, You have no choice in front of me. All right, I will destroy it. Seeing that Ningyu was unmoved, Xieming gritted his teeth, and the flame on the tip of his right hand gradually approached the space ring. Bang! In the blink of an eye, a cold light suddenly flashed past and hit Xieming's wrist. The pain from his wrist forced Xieming to throw the space ring away. Swoosh! How could Ningyu miss such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? He hurriedly dashed out and reached for the space ring at top speed. Oh no! Just as his hand was about to grab the ring, Ningyu suddenly felt a terrifying aura coming towards him. There was no time to think. Ningyu used his right hand to grab the space ring and his left hand to draw the red demon sword. He slashed with it. Clang! The red demon sword collided with something hard and gave off a crisp sound. A soft sound of surprise sounded in this area. Swish! Ningyu seized the opportunity and immediately retreated. Buzz! Buzz! Subsequently, the void split open and an old man slowly appeared in everyone's sight. Sukai. Seeing the old man's original appearance, Void Leopard and Xian Ming felt that it was somewhat unbelievable. They did not expect that Sukai would actually appear. One had to know that in all these years, Sukai had never entered the pill room before. Why did he come today? All sorts of doubts arose in Void Leopard and Xian Ming's mind. However, relatively speaking, Void Leopard's expression was still fine. After all, he did not make a move to snatch the ring and was a victim. Perhaps Sukai would forcefully make a move and kill both Ningyu and Xian Ming. Hand over the space ring, and I will spare your life. Sukai's expression was indifferent as he stared at Ningyu coldly and said in a cold voice, "Otherwise, I will take your life. The cultivation of a half-step Heaven Lord is not enough to take my life." Ningyu kept the space ring and said indifferently, "If you advance to the Heaven Lord realm, I might be a little afraid. But now, you are not a match for me. Is that so?" Sukai raised his eyebrows and immediately waved his hand. A huge formation enveloped the entire elixir room. In the god-slaying demon formation, my strength can be increased by several times, but your strength will be decreased by several times. The corner of Sukai's mouth curled up, and he said coldly, "Hand over the space ring, and I will spare your life." The Su clan's fourth-ranked killing formation. God-slaying demon formation. The god-slaying demon formation had a very significant feature, which was that it could increase the combat power of the person who set up the formation and weaken the combat power of the other martial artists inside the formation. To put it simply, Sukai's strength could be increased by 3 or 4 times, while Ningyu and Void Leopard's strength will be decreased by several times. Unless a Heaven Lord expert appeared, it was very difficult for others to be a match for Sukai. "Ningyu, don't worry. I have a way to break the god-slaying demon formation." Chapter 2302. Are you sure you have a way to break the god-slaying demon formation? Ningyu asked doubtfully when he heard the twin-horned demonic beast's words. To be honest, Ningyu doubted that the god-slaying demon formation could be broken by the god-slaying demon formation. After all, the god-slaying demon formation was ranked 4th in the Su family. No one could break it unless they were a formation master. Why would I lie? The god-slaying demon formation felt that Ningyu had insulted him. Lord of Heaven Rome is a formation master. I've been by his side for so many years. I know a thing or two about formations. All right, I'll trust you this once. Ningyu twisted his neck and drew the red demon sword. Stepping on the ground, he charged at Sukai. Although Sukai was a half-step heavenly lord, Ningyu was not afraid. After all, no matter how strong Sukai was, he could not make it into the top 10 of the Heavenly Lord substitute list. The only thing that Ningyu was afraid of was the god-slaying demon formation. As long as the god-slaying demon formation could be broken by the god-slaying demon formation, Sukai would be a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. Humph! You overestimate yourself. Sukai snorted when he saw Ningyu charging at him. He gathered the immortal chi in his body on his fist and punched out. Chi! Chi! Sukai's punch was extremely powerful. The space cracked, and a terrifying shock wave spread out. Bang! In a flash, Ningyu's fist inevitably collided with Sukai's fist. The two collided. A crisp sound was heard. Ningyu and Sukai both retreated dozens of feet. Judging from the distance they retreated, Sukai was obviously at a disadvantage. That was because he retreated much further than Ningyu. So powerful? After that one move, Sukai's expression turned extremely ugly. His heart was in turmoil. One had to know, He had used 100% of his strength in that move, and he had even mobilized the power of the god-slaying demon formation. Under such circumstances, he still wasn't able to defeat Ningyu and wasn't even injured. It was obvious how powerful Ningyu was. "You don't seem too strong." Ningyu gripped the red demon sword and looked at Su Kai with interest. "I want to see what you can do to me if I don't hand over the space ring today. Just now, I only used 10% of the god-slaying demon formation's power. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." Su Kai waved his hands repeatedly and took out a storage bag from his robes. He threw it directly into the eye of the god, vanquishing demon array. Rumble. The god-slaying demon array exploded. Buzz. Several extremely frightening energy fluctuations gushed out from the eye of the formation and surged towards Su Kai. "I'll show you the true power of the god-slaying demon formation." Su Kai growled, then opened his mouth wide in an attempt to swallow the energy that was rushing towards him. Xiao. However, at this moment, a shadow suddenly rushed out of Su-he's body. The double-horned demonic beast. The double-horned demonic beast was none other than the double-horned demonic beast. The double-horned demonic beast had said that it could break the god-slaying demon formation, so it naturally wouldn't go back on its word. Its body spun rapidly and arrived next to the eye of the god-slaying demon formation at a terrifying speed. Crack! In the next instant, his body collided with the eye of the formation. Immediately, the eye of the god-slaying demon formation shattered. Oh no! Su Kai's pupils constricted as he felt the eye of the formation shatter. His face was full of fear. Su Kai was relying on the god-slaying demon formation. If the god-slaying demon formation was broken, he was destined to die today. After all, without the power of the god-slaying demon formation, Su Kai had no chance of winning against Ningyu. Hold on. At this critical moment, Su Kai raised his head and roared. At the same time, the energy in his body continuously flew towards the eye of the formation, trying to rebuild the eye of the god-slaying demon formation. Good timing. However, Su Kai was obviously giving the double-horned demonic beast a chance. How could the double-horned demonic beast let go of such a rare opportunity? The devouring power in its body gushed out crazily. The double-horned demonic beast would devour as much energy as it could. Damn it! Su Kai was not a fool. He knew very well that the double-horned demonic beast was devouring the energy he released. However, he had no other choice. He could either repair the eye of the formation as soon as possible or be killed by Ningyu and the double-horned demonic beast. It was obvious. Su Kai chose to put his life on the line and repair the eye of the formation. Kill. Dreams were plentiful, but reality was harsh. How could Ningyu allow Su Kai to repair the eye of the formation? He immediately attacked with the red demon sword. The energy in his body gathered on the red demon sword as he stabbed out. Poof! As Su Kai was fighting the double-horned demonic beast while repairing the eye of the formation. Therefore, he did not pay too much attention to Ningyu's actions. It was this carelessness that caused Ningyu to stab his heart with a red demon sword. Looking down at the red flying sword in his heart, Su Kai stretched out his right hand and pointed at Ningyu with a look of disbelief. Devour. Ningyu ignored Su Kai. He controlled the red demon sword and let the red demon and the dark emperor devour Su Kai. Ningyu was not a fool. The energy in his body had already reached a critical point. If he wanted to increase his strength, there was no other way except to become a sage immortal. Therefore, the energy in Su Kai's body could only be devoured by the red demon and the dark emperor. Thank you. Inside the red demon sword, the red demon and the dark emperor were very excited. Su Kai was a half-step heavenly lord expert. If they devoured him, their strength would definitely increase significantly. Crack! While the dark emperor and the red demon sword were devouring Su Kai, the double-horned demonic beast had already completely destroyed the god-slaying demon formation. Furthermore, not only did the double-horned demonic beast destroy the god-slaying demon formation, it even kept it in the crystal ball. The power is not too bad. After playing with the crystal ball for a while, the double-horned demonic beast flicked its wrist and threw the crystal ball at Ningyu. Ha! Ningyu reacted quickly and caught the crystal ball steadily. I'll leave this god-slaying demon formation to you. Seeing that Ningyu had caught the crystal ball, the double-horned demonic beast said, in the future, if you meet a heavenly monarch realm expert, you should be able to block one move with this god-slaying demon formation. Why don't you keep such a precious thing for yourself? Ningyu looked at the crystal ball in his hand and asked doubtfully, your strength is only around the 25th rank on the Heaven Monarch substitute list. With the god-slaying demon formation, you can compete with the top 2 in the future. With the god-slaying demon formation, you can fight against the top 2 martial artists in the future. Why are you talking so much nonsense? The double-horned demonic beast rolled its eyes and said, don't hand it over. There must be something wrong with this. Ningyu released his perception and began to carefully examine the crystal ball. I'm going to take it. This time it didn't matter. Ningyu immediately cursed. No wonder the double-horned demonic beast didn't want the god-slaying demon formation. It turned out that the god-slaying demon formation was consuming energy at every moment. Furthermore, the speed at which the god-slaying demon formation consumed energy had reached a terrifying level. To put it simply, it was because he couldn't afford to raise the double-horned demonic beast, so he was forced to hand it over to Ningyu. All right, you've taken all the pills on the 3rd floor of the pill room. I'll go take a look on the next 2 floors. Chapter 2303. It is indeed up to no good. Ningyu took out a heavenly pill and inserted it into the crystal ball as he watched the 2-horned demonic beast leave. When he killed Heavenly Monarch Proudwind in the Cloud Valley, Ningyu had obtained 100 heavenly elixirs. The energy contained in one heavenly elixir could allow a heavenly monarch expert to recover to his peak state. Just because the double-horned demonic beast did not have enough energy to feed the god-slaying demon formation did not mean that Ningyu did not. That's a bargain for me. Ningyu's lips curled up as he kept the crystal ball. Ningyu had purposely cursed it in front of the double-horned demonic beast. After all, if he did not do that, the double-horned demonic beast would not be willing to hand over the god-slaying demon formation to him. Let's see what's in the interspatial ring. He did not think too much about it. Ningyu unleashed his perception and entered the interspatial ring to probe. SSS. As soon as his perception entered the interspatial ring, Ningyu gasped. Heavenly elixirs. A large number of heavenly elixirs. He estimated that there were at least 1,000 heavenly elixirs in the interspatial ring. About 10,000 culminating heaven elixirs. There were even more than 100,000 lower heaven elixirs. Ningyu was dumbfounded by the number of heavenly elixirs. The Su clan was indeed the leader of the 3 major clans. Just a single elixir room had so many elixirs. One can imagine just how vast was the wealth of the Su clan. Ningyu did not get carried away by the joy of so many heavenly elixirs. He looked around and finally stopped on a black box. This black box gave him a very mysterious feeling. Go! With a thought, Ningyu separated a portion of his soul power and slowly approached the black box. SSS. SSS. However, before Ningyu's soul power could approach the black box, it was devoured by the devouring power that shot out from the box. Could it be a devouring Dharma treasure? Ningyu frowned and decided to separate a portion of his immortal energy to approach the black box. SSS. 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 The results were surprisingly consistent. The immortal chi that Ningyu released was also devoured by the devouring force that shot out from the black box. This is a little troublesome. Ningyu frowned slightly. He could sense that whatever was inside the black box was definitely not ordinary. Ning rode. After thinking about it, Ningyu started to contact Ning Lu. After all, Ning Lu's main body was a world tree. Perhaps he had a way. Whoosh! Ning Lu leaped out of the red devil sword and entered the space ring. Go! Looking at the black box, Ning Lu forced out a drop of blood essence and threw it at the black box. Gotcha! As soon as the blood came into contact with the black box, it suddenly split open. Shio! A white cold light suddenly shot out from the black box, trying to escape. Ha! How could Ning Lu allow it to escape? In an instant, Ning Lu turned into a blur, caught up to the cold white light, and grabbed it. After grabbing the cold white light, Ning Lu flew out of the spatial ring and arrived before Ningyu. Elixir. Ningyu was slightly stunned when he saw the white elixir in Ning Lu's palm. He then asked, "What elixir is this?" "This elixir is called the Sky-Stealing, Sun-Changing Elixir," Ning Lu replied. Sky-Stealing, Sun-Changing Elixir? Ningyu was puzzled. The so-called Sky-Stealing, Sun-Changing Elixir means that if you swallow it during your tribulation transcendence, it will help you transcend the tribulation. Ning Lu explained, "You're currently a half-step sacred immortal. I think you can go and become a sacred immortal now. This is the Su family. There shouldn't be a way to become a sacred immortal here, right?" Ningyu frowned. Ningyu was not that stupid to undergo tribulation transcendence in the Su family. Even if there was a sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir, Ningyu would not dare to take the risk. If he was discovered by a heavenly lord of the Su family, wouldn't he be in trouble? "Don't worry about that." Ning Lu waved his hand and said, "Swallow the sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir first." All right. Ningyu did not argue with Ning Lu. Since Ning Lu wanted him to swallow it, it meant that the effects of the sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir should be very good. Crack! The elixir entered his stomach. Ningyu only felt a terrifying energy swimming back and forth in his body. Immediately after, an illusory figure darted out of his body. Ningyu's mouth opened slightly as he looked at the illusory figure in front of him. His face was filled with shock. There was no other reason. Ningyu realized that the illusory figure in front of him seemed to be his clone. Be it in terms of aura or appearance, it was a living Ningyu too. This is the effect of the sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir. Ning Lu patted Ningyu too and said, "Crack." As soon as Ning Lu patted Ningyu too tore through the void and disappeared. Where did he go? Ningyu was puzzled. Who knows where he was teleported to? Ning Lu shrugged and said, "Don't worry about it. Hurry up and summon the tribulation cloud. We'll undergo the tribulation here." All right. Ningyu nodded and summoned the great tribulation of the Saint Immortal Realm. Rumble. In the sky above Kuan Su City, a dense black tribulation cloud suddenly formed. After the tribulation cloud formed, it did not descend. After hesitating for a while, the tribulation cloud flew into the distance. Someone is using the sky-stealing, sun-changing elixir to transcend the tribulation. Meanwhile, in the guest hall of the Su clan, an old man in a white robe frowned and murmured, "Could it be someone from the Zhao clan or the Mo clan who's transcending the tribulation? Hee, looks like I didn't come to Kuan Su City in vain." The martial artist opposite the white-robed old man smiled and said, "Before entering Kuan Su City, I already found a qualified genius. The Su family should also have one or two. With the addition of the Mo and Zhao families, we should be able to complete this mission with flying colors." If Ningyu was here, he would definitely notice that the martial artist opposite the old man was Rong Tianjun. Get the people from the Zhao clan and the Mo clan here. Rong Tianjun withdrew his thoughts and said calmly, "Yes." The old man in a white robe dared not delay. He immediately tore open the void and headed toward the Mo and Zhao clans. Rumble. Ningyu was unaware of the conversation between the old man and Rong Tianjun. He did not feel anything after triggering the great tribulation of the Saint Immortal Realm. The sky-stealing, sun-changing pill had transferred the tribulation cloud that he was supposed to endure to Ningyu too. In other words, Ningyu too was the one undergoing the tribulation right now. As for Ningyu, all he had to do was wait patiently. Once the tribulation was over, he would enjoy the baptism of the tribulation alone. Drip, drip. Time was ticking away. In the blink of an eye, an hour had passed. During this hour, Ningyu was bored to death. All he could do was wait patiently. Crack! When the second hour arrived, the space in front of Ningyu cracked open. A golden pool of lightning appeared in front of him. Tribulation liquid. Ningyu was delighted when he saw the golden pool of lightning. Without wasting any time, Ningyu dived into the pool of lightning and devoured the tribulation liquid crazily. Bang! As the tribulation liquid decreased, Ningyu's aura skyrocketed rapidly. In just a few seconds, his aura skyrocketed from a half-step Saint Immortal to a Saint Immortal. Moreover, the speed at which his aura skyrocketed did not slow down. Bang! Bang! Another two dull thuds were heard. Chapter 2304. Phew! Feeling the change in his aura, Ningyu let out a sigh of relief and leaped out of the pool. The sky-stealing, sun-changing pill was indeed effective. Without the sky-stealing, sun-changing pill, it was impossible for Ningyu to pass the great tribulation of the Saint Immortal Realm and advance to the late-stage Saint Immortal Realm. After all, this was Kuin-Su City. Ningyu did not have the guts to undergo the tribulation in Kuin-Su City. Gulp. On the other side, Suhi and Su Bao swallowed a mouthful of saliva. Ningyu, who was a half-step Saint Immortal, had already given them a lot of pressure. Now that Ningyu had advanced to the late-stage Saint Immortal Realm, one could imagine how much his strength had increased. Ignoring Suhi and the other's shock, Ningyu flicked his wrist and directly stored the remaining lightning tribulation fluid in the lightning pool. I'm going to take it. However, as soon as Ningyu kept the heavenly tribulation liquid, he heard an exclamation. The double-horned demon beast. It was obvious that the double-horned demon beast had already taken away all the elixirs on the first and second floor of the elixir room. Initially, the double-horned demon beast wanted to show off. Who would have thought that he would feel a palpitating aura from Ningyu? The twin-horned demonic beast stared at Ningyu, and it even stuttered when it spoke. What do you mean? Ningyu rolled his eyes and took out a few bottles of heavenly tribulation liquid. He threw them to the double-horned demon beast and said, Since you've helped me a lot, these heavenly tribulation liquid belong to you. Ha! The double-horned demon beast was shocked after receiving the heavenly tribulation liquid, because he realized the heavenly tribulation liquid produced by Ningyu's great tribulation of the Saint Immortal Realm contained energy that was comparable to some heavenly monarch realm tribulations. Freak, what a freak! The double-horned demon beast quickly returned to normal. Ningyu was someone that Heavenly Lord Rong valued, and Heavenly Lord Rong had always been a good judge of character. In the Immortal Court, there were very few people that could be praised by Heavenly Lord Rong. Where are we going now? The twin-horned demonic beast looked at Ningyu and asked after it sorted out its thoughts. Su Clan's heavenly prison. Ningyu waved his hand, grabbed Su He and Su Bao, and headed straight for the heavenly prison of the Su family. Naturally, Ningyu did not dare to go to the Su Clan's prison before he advanced to the Mastery Saint Immortal stage. After all, that place was extremely dangerous, and the slightest carelessness could lead to death. But now, Ningyu had absolute confidence. Before he advanced to the Saint Immortal Realm, he was ranked 5th on the Heavenly Monarch Substitute ranking. Now that he had advanced to the Mastery Saint Immortal Realm, if nothing unexpected happened, he might even be ranked in the top 3 on the Heavenly Monarch Substitute ranking. How terrifying were the top 3 of the Heaven Monarch Substitute list? It wasn't an exaggeration to say that the top 3 absolute prodigies on the Heaven Monarch Substitute list were all capable of defeating ordinary Heaven Monarchs. Although he had never fought with a Heaven Monarch expert before, Ningyu was almost certain that it was a Heaven Monarch expert. Even if he were to face a Heaven Monarch expert, he would still be fearless. At the very least, he could escape. Shush. With Su He and Su Bao leading the way, Ningyu and the others soon arrived at the Su Clan's prison. The Su Clan's prison was heavily guarded. Obviously, they would not let Ningyu and the others enter so easily. There were 4 martial artists guarding the prison. They were known as the Su Clan's 4 great guardian deities. First guardian deity was at the peak of the half-step Heaven Monarch realm. He was only half a step away from advancing to the Heavenly Monarch realm. Second guardian deity was at the half-step Heaven Monarch realm and was very powerful. Third guardian deity and fourth guardian deity were at the peak of the Saint Immortal realm. Their strength was also unfathomable. The heavenly prison is an important place. Without the old ancestors' token, no one is allowed to enter. The four guardian deities took a step forward and glanced at Ningyu and the others with cold eyes. They said in a deep voice, "If you know what's good for you, leave as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will be captured and sent to the law enforcement hall. You will suffer a lot. We have important matters to attend to in the heavenly prison. Please make an exception." Suhi was very discerning. He quickly ran to the four guardian deities and secretly stuffed an interspatial ring into their hands. "Go in, but you can only stay inside for 10 minutes. After weighing the interspatial ring, the four guardian deities impatiently waved their hands and said, 10 minutes later, all of you are to get out." "All right." Suhi lowered his head and bowed. Seeing the conversation between Su-He and the four guardian deities, Ningyu's mouth was slightly agape while his face was filled with disbelief. There was such a thing? The heavenly prison was an important place. How could one simply take out some bribes to enter? Seemingly sensing Ningyu's doubt, Su-He explained softly, "The Su clan's heavenly prison has a total of 4 regions. The first 3 regions are for ordinary criminals, and the 4 guardian deities will naturally close one eye. As for the 4th region, there are other guards. Without the old ancestors' key, no matter how capable you are, you will never be able to enter." "I see." Ningyu nodded and had a sudden realization. No wonder the 4 guardian deities were willing to give way. It turned out that there was a checkpoint at the back. Creak. The heavy door of the heavenly prison slowly opened. Ningyu, Su-He, Su-Bao, and the twin-horned demonic beast. The 4 of them entered the heavenly prison side by side. Hee, someone else came in. I don't know how he offended the Su clan, but as long as he enters the heavenly prison, he can forget about leaving for the rest of his life. Forget about leaving for the rest of his life? As long as your clan is willing to pay the heavenly pills, you can easily leave. Otherwise, why do you think the Su clan has so many heavenly pills? That's true. However, people with that kind of energy will not be caught. As soon as Ningyu and the others entered the heavenly prison, they heard discussions. These discussions were all from the cultivators imprisoned in the heavenly prison. Ningyu's expression was indifferent. He did not care about the discussions around him as he slowly advanced forward. Ningyu's speed was not fast. In fact, it could be said that he was very slow. There was no other reason. Ningyu needed to understand the situation here in case he had no way out when he left. Stop. Not long later, Ningyu and Su-He arrived at the entrance of the 4th region. It was just as Su-He had said. There was a middle-aged man sitting cross-legged at the entrance of the 4th region. Hiss! Ningyu gasped when he sensed the aura emanating from the middle-aged man. Heavenly Monarch. The middle-aged man's cultivation was most likely at the Heavenly Monarch realm. Although Ningyu was confident that he would not be at a disadvantage against a Heavenly Monarch, he was still a little worried if he really had to fight against a Heavenly Monarch. Stop! The middle-aged man glanced at Su-He and Su-Bao, then stopped at Ningyu and said indifferently, "The heavenly prison is an important place. It's better that you don't go in. Let's take someone." Su-He calmed down and said indifferently according to Ningyu's hint, "The Patriarch wants to see Su-Ing and asked us to take her away." The Patriarch wants to see Su-Ing? The middle-aged man was slightly startled. He had thought that Su-He and the others were troublemakers. Who would have thought that they would directly mention the Patriarch? Why don't I know that if you want to take Su-Ing away, you have to bring the Patriarch's token? Chapter 23:05. This, Su-He hesitated and shifted his gaze to Ningyu to seek Ningyu's opinion. "You don't seem to be from the Su clan." The middle-aged man had been paying attention to the changes in Ningyu's expression. When Su-He looked at Ningyu, he said, "Tell me honestly, are you a spy sent by the other 2 clans?" Boom! As he spoke, the middle-aged man suddenly unleashed his aura and pressed down on Ningyu. Humph! Facing the middle-aged man's oppressive aura, Ningyu snorted coldly and released the aura within his body as well. Chi! The 2 auras collided and a sizzling sound was heard. Ningyu and the middle-aged man stood on the spot and did not retreat at all. The middle-aged man was a little surprised. He did not expect the young man in front of him to be so powerful. Even a heavenly monarch expert like him could not gain the upper hand in a battle of aura. Very well, you've successfully angered me. The middle-aged man twisted his neck and said, if you have the old ancestor's token, I can spare your life today. If you don't, I'm sorry, but I can only take your life. Suhi, hand over the token. Ningyu shrugged and turned to look at Suhi. Suhi was slightly stunned when he heard Ningyu's words. Then, he seemed to have thought of something and quickly took out a token. After receiving the token from Suhi, Ningyu approached the middle-aged man step by step. I'd like to see what you're up to. The middle-aged man crossed his arms in front of his chest and looked at Ningyu with interest. To the middle-aged man, even if Ningyu's strength was formidable, he was still fearless. After all, he was a heavenly monarch expert, while the other party was only a late-stage Saint Immortal. Since ancient times, a genius who could fight a heavenly monarch at the late-stage Saint Immortal only existed in the Immortal Court. Here, after a while, Ningyu stopped a few steps away from the middle-aged man. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed the token to the middle-aged man. Ha! The middle-aged man's eyes and hands were sharp, and he caught the token steadily. This isn't the Patriarch's token. He just caught the command token when the middle-aged man shook his head and said in a cold voice, I knew there was something wrong with you, kid. Today, I'll let you know how formidable I am. The word harm fell. The middle-aged man took a step forward, clenched his right hand into a fist, and punched at Ningyu. Be careful. Seeing the middle-aged man attack Ningyu, the twin-horn monster's pupils constricted, and it shouted in a low voice. It's fine. However, as the person involved, Ningyu is not nervous at all. He threw out the crystal ball, and with a thought, he controlled the crystal ball to explode. Boom! As the crystal ball exploded, the god-slaying demon formation was formed in the area. What the hell? Seeing Ningyu take out the god-slaying demon array, the twin-horned demonic beast was dumbfounded. You should know, a peerless formation like the god-slaying demon array would be very difficult to activate without terrifying energy. The fact that Ningyu took out the god-slaying demon array and activated it to the limit meant that the energy in his body had reached a terrifying level. I was right. The middle-aged man's expression was extremely cold. He shouted in a deep voice, stealing the Sioux clan's god-slaying demon array, You won't be able to escape today. Rise. Ningyu didn't waste any words with the middle-aged man. In order to activate the god-slaying demon array, he didn't hesitate to use up 10 heaven pellets. What did 10 heaven pellets mean? A single heaven pellet was enough to instantly replenish the energy consumed by a heaven monarch expert. Even though Ningyu had used up 10 heaven pellets, he could only maintain the god-slaying demon array for 10 minutes. In other words, Ningyu had to get rid of the middle-aged man within 10 minutes. Otherwise, he would need to use up a large amount of heaven pellets. Fortunately, in the god-slaying demon array, Ningyu's strength would be greatly increased, while the middle-aged man's would be greatly reduced. In this situation, Ningyu wasn't too afraid of the middle-aged man. Kill. Ningyu didn't waste even a minute or a second. He stepped on the ground and immediately rushed out. Damn it. Looking at Ningyu, who was constantly rushing towards him, the middle-aged man couldn't help but curse. He had calculated everything, but he didn't expect Ningyu to have the god-slaying demon array and so many heaven pellets to activate it. As a heaven monarch expert, he only had a few dozen heaven pellets on him. Every time he used one, he would feel a pain in his heart. Now, Ningyu had actually used up 10 heaven pellets to activate the god-slaying demon array. I'll let you know what the combat power of a heaven monarch is. The middle-aged man grabbed the air with his right hand, and a cold light was instantly caught in his hand. Swish! He suddenly threw it out. The cold light drew a beautiful arc and arrived in front of Ningyu in the blink of an eye. Slash! Ningyu took out the red demon sword and slashed. The cold light shattered on the spot. The consumption of heaven pellets was worth it. Seeing the cold light shatter, Ningyu nodded in satisfaction. Without the god-slaying demon array, he definitely wouldn't be a match for the middle-aged man. Now that he used the god-slaying demon array, Not only could he fight against the middle-aged man, he might even have a chance to kill him. The only thing that hurt his heart was that every time he attacked, he would need to use up a large number of heaven pellets. Just to maintain the god-slaying demon array, he would need to use up 1 heaven pellet every minute. If he fought with the middle-aged man just now, he would need to use up another 10 heaven pellets. Fortunately, Ningyu had looted all the elixirs in the elixir room. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be able to bear the consumption. The two-horned demonic beast knew how terrifying the god-slaying demon array was. He shouted and rushed towards the middle-aged man. F***CK, don't waste my heaven pellets. Ningyu cursed in his heart. He then took out 10 heaven pellets and threw them into the core of the god-slaying demon array. Chi. The heaven pellets burned, and a terrifying energy entered the two-horned demonic beast's body. Boom! In an instant, the two-horned demonic beast and the middle-aged man started fighting. With the energy from the 10 heaven pellets, the two-horned demonic beast was actually evenly matched with the middle-aged man. Haha! Looks like I'm very powerful to be evenly matched with a heavenly monarch expert. The two-horned demonic beast raised its head and laughed wildly. Bang! However, the two-horned demonic beast had celebrated too early. A heavenly monarch was a heavenly monarch after all. The middle-aged man took a step forward, raised his right leg, and fiercely kicked the demonic beast's chest. The huge force sent the two-horned demonic beast flying and crashing heavily onto the ground. Fresh blood spurted out of the demonic beast's mouth. The two-horned demonic beast's aura quickly dropped to the freezing point. God-slaying demon array? Haha, sorry, I have a Sioux family's third-ranked killing array. The middle-aged man stared at the two-horned demonic beast on the ground and said sinisterly, Invincible divine array. Rumble, as the 3 words Invincible divine array sounded. Swish, 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 swish. 4 terrifying light pillars shot into the sky from 4 directions, firmly surrounding Ningyu and the others. Ka. In an instant. Chapter 23:06. Oh no! The sudden change caused Ningyu's expression to change drastically. The deity-slaying demon array was his trump card, and the reason why he could fight against the middle-aged man. Once the deity-slaying demon array was destroyed, he would have no chance of winning against the middle-aged man. If the middle-aged man activated the invincible god array, he might even die today. Therefore, no matter what, he couldn't let the middle-aged man activate the invincible god array. Voila! It was a critical moment. Ningyu took out 100 heavenly elixirs and threw them into the eye of the deity-slaying demon array. Rumble. In an instant, a terrifying surge of energy shot out from the eye of the array and entered Ningyu's body. Die! Ningyu stomped on the ground and gathered the energy on his wrist before he threw a punch. Child's play. The middle-aged man didn't take Ningyu's attack seriously. The corner of his lips curled up into a smile. He said, Today next year, it will be the anniversary of your death. As soon as the words left his mouth, the middle-aged man threw a punch. Bang! In the blink of an eye, Ningyu's fist collided with the middle-aged man's fist. After the first attack, Ningyu only stopped after retreating a few meters. The middle-aged man stood where he was and didn't move an inch. In this blow, Ningyu was at an absolute disadvantage. Damn it! Clenching his fists, Ningyu's expression darkened. What was done was done. It was unrealistic to think of a way to stop the middle-aged man from activating the invincible god array. The most important thing now was to find a way to stabilize the deity-slaying demon array and destroy the invincible god array. Let me do it. Ninglu suddenly dashed out and said, I'll stop the middle-aged man. You go and find a way to break the invincible god array. Can you do it? Ningyu paused and asked. Even if I can't, I have to. Ninglu took a deep breath and dashed towards the middle-aged man. In terms of battle prowess, Ninglu was much more powerful than the twin-horned demon beast. Since he had devoured Hong Tong's world tree trunk, Ninglu was not much weaker than Ningyu. Ningyu could get into the top 3 of the Lord of Heaven substitute list, and Ning Lu should be able to get into the top 5. Rumble. The battle broke out instantly. The facts proved that Ning Yu had underestimated Ning Lu. In the battle with the middle-aged man at the Lord of Heaven realm, Ning Lu was actually able to fight back and forth and was not at a disadvantage at all. But Ning Yu was very clear. Everything was an illusion. The middle-aged man clearly did not use his full strength. He seemed to want to capture Ning Lu alive, so he only used 50% of his peak strength. Red Demon Sword. Ning Yu naturally wouldn't waste such a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He bellowed and consumed another 100 heavenly elixirs, turning them into energy and slashed towards the invincible god formation's eye. Kacha! The energy contained within 100 heavenly elixirs was terrifying to the extreme. With just one sword, Ning Yu destroyed one of the array cores of the invincible god array. What? Seeing that the array core was destroyed, the middle-aged man's expression changed. He had originally thought that the invincible god array would be able to block Ning Yu's attack, but who would have thought that Ning Yu had so many heavenly elixirs on him, and had used up 100 of them in an instant. Under the attack of so many heavenly elixirs, one of the 4 array cores of the invincible god array was instantly destroyed. Fortunately, the invincible god array had a total of 4 array cores. If Ning Yu wanted to destroy them all, he would need to consume at least 400 heavenly elixirs. Adding the more than 100 heavenly elixirs that he had consumed just now, he had a total of more than 500, close to 600. In other words, Ning Yu had to have so many heavenly elixirs, otherwise he would not be able to shake the foundation of the invincible god array. I originally wanted to spare your life, but now it seems that there is no need for that. If you want to blame someone, blame your friend. The middle-aged man no longer cared about Ning Yu. He shouted at Ning Lu, "If I don't use the invincible god array, killing you will be as easy as killing a dog." Boom! As soon as he finished, the middle-aged man used 100% of his strength and rushed towards Ning Lu. Kill! Ning Yu knew that Ning Lu was using his life to buy time for him, so he immediately took out 300 heavenly elixirs and refined them. Chi chi chi. The terrifying energy brought by the 300 heavenly elixirs made even Ning Yu's heart palpitate. Swish! 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 The flying sword in his hand waved continuously, and in an instant, 3 sword beams shot out. Crack, crack, crack. Every sword beam was aimed at the array core of the invincible god array. A series of cracking sounds could be heard. In the blink of an eye, 3 array cores were completely destroyed. Crash! Adding the one that was destroyed just now. Up to now, all 4 of the invincible god array's array cores had been destroyed. The destruction of the array core meant that the invincible god array had completely lost its effect. What? The middle-aged man had always been connected to the invincible god array. The destruction of the remaining 3 array cores naturally could not escape his senses. The sudden change caused the middle-aged man's expression to change drastically, his face filled with disbelief. No matter what, he would never have imagined it. Ning Yu actually had so many heavenly elixirs on him. Since the start of the battle, Ning Yu had used a total of more than 500 heavenly elixirs. Just this number alone was enough to bring down a first-rate family. One had to know, the Zhao family and Mo family, who were also part of the 3 major families, might not even have more than 500 heavenly elixirs combined. How could he not be shocked that Ning Yu had taken out so many at once? However, although he was shocked, the middle-aged man did not lose his mind. To him, even if Ning Yu had used up so many heavenly elixirs and destroyed the 4 array cores of the invincible god array, he was not afraid. There was no other reason. When Ning Yu destroyed the invincible god array, his god-slaying demon array was also destroyed. Humph! I admit that you are very strong, but this day next year will still be the anniversary of your death. The middle-aged man snorted coldly, then clenched his right hand into a fist and punched towards Ning Lu. At this point, the middle-aged man decided to change his strategy. Swoosh! Before he reached Ning Lu, the middle-aged man suddenly turned around and charged towards the collapsed twin-horned demonic beast. The middle-aged man was not a hothead. He knew that Ning Yu's strength was on par with his. Adding Ning Lu, it would be very difficult for him to stop Ning Yu and Ning Lu from escaping today. Therefore, he could only change his strategy and capture the twin-horned demonic beast to threaten them. F asterisk CK, 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 F asterisk CK. Ning Yu, save me. Seeing the middle-aged man charge towards it, the twin-horned demonic beast immediately shouted. The twin-horned demonic beast knew its limits. Even at its peak, it was not a match for the middle-aged man, let alone now. If Ning Yu did not help it, then it would definitely die today. Don't worry. Actually, when the invincible god array and the god-slaying demon array were destroyed at the same time, Ning Yu had already guessed what the middle-aged man was going to do. He had been paying attention to the middle-aged man's movements. When he saw the middle-aged man charge towards the twin-horned demonic beast, Ning Yu immediately threw out the red devil sword in his hand. Chi. The red devil sword was extremely fast. As it rubbed against the air, it made a hissing sound, almost in an instant. Chapter 2307. Damn it. Seeing the red flying sword that suddenly appeared in front of him, the middle-aged man could not help but curse. With a flick of his wrist, the middle-aged man took out his flying sword. World-extinguishing sword. The middle-aged man was a heaven monarch, and his flying sword was of a very high grade. Ding! The world-extinguishing sword clashed with the red devil sword. When the two flying swords clashed, a crisp sound was heard. Hiss! Feeling the tearing pain from his hand, the middle-aged man took a deep breath. Could it be Ning Yu used the heavenly elixirs again? Otherwise, there was no way he could produce such a terrifying power. Was sly old fox? Ning Yu's expression turned extremely grave. The middle-aged man was right. He had indeed used up a lot of heavenly elixirs. In order to severely injure the middle-aged man before he used his Dharma treasure, he had used up a total of 100 heavenly elixirs. But unexpectedly, the middle-aged man directly took out his flying sword and blocked the killing blow. There are still over 400 heavenly elixirs left. Keeping the red devil sword, Ning Yu's expression was gloomy. Since entering the Su clan's prison, he had already used up over 600 heavenly elixirs. Fortunately, he had ransacked the Su clan's elixir store. Otherwise, he would not have lasted until now. You can't catch the wolf without sacrificing the child. Gritting his teeth, Ning Yu decided to use up all the remaining heavenly elixirs. After all, he had fought with the middle-aged man for so long. The Su clan's patriarch might have already received the news. If he dragged on, the situation would be very disadvantageous for him. Therefore, he had to finish the battle as soon as possible. Otherwise, the consequences would be unimaginable. Burn! With a thought, Ning Yu threw over 400 heavenly elixirs into the red devil sword and activated the red devil sword to burn them all. Chi. With so many heavenly elixirs burning at the same time, a terrifying energy wave was instantly released. Kill! Ning Yu bellowed. With the red devil sword in hand, he suddenly dashed out. Let me lend you a hand. At this moment, Ning Lu's right hand suddenly slapped on Ning Yu's back. Endless energy flowed through his palm and into Ning Yu's body. It took less than a second. All the energy in Ning Lu's body entered Ning Yu's body. Not good. The middle-aged man finally realized that something was wrong when he sensed the energy ripples on the red demon sword. At this time, even though he was a heavenly lord, he felt his scalp tingle. After all, with so many heavenly pills burning at the same time, this kind of scene was enough to shock him greatly. World-extinguishing slash. With a low grunt, the middle-aged man gathered all the energy in his body onto the world annihilation sword and slashed with it. Hwah! A sword radiance as thick as a person's waist separated from the world-extinguishing sword and rushed towards Ning Yu at a terrifying speed. Go! How could Ning Yu face the sword light head-on? He flicked his wrist and threw the red demon sword. Gotcha! The red demon sword contained the energy of Ning Yu, Ning Lu, and more than 400 heavenly elixirs. Compared to the world-annihilating sword, it was only slightly more. Therefore, as soon as they collided, the sword gleam that separated from the World Annihilation Sword was cut into two. It was a successful move. The red demon's sword was not idle. It swept out again. What a freak! The middle-aged man was shocked. He hurriedly threw out the world-annihilating sword, trying to stop the red demon's sword. However, it was too late for the middle-aged man to stop the red demon's sword. Gotcha! The red demon's sword collided with the world-annihilating sword and cut the world-annihilating sword into two. The red demon's sword continued to fly forward and appeared in front of the middle-aged man in the blink of an eye. The red demon sword grew larger and larger in the middle-aged man's eyes. Finally, it stabbed into his heart. Puffed. Blood spurted from his mouth. The middle-aged man used the Heavenly Lord's origin to force the red demon's sword out of his body. Burn the origin. In the face of death, the middle-aged man finally began to throw caution to the wind. He even started to burn the Heavenly Lord's origin. It should be known that the Heavenly Lord's origin was extremely difficult to cultivate. Once it was burned, it was harder to replenish it. Every time the middle-aged man burned a trace of the Heavenly Lord's origin, his strength would decrease. But now, the middle-aged man had no choice but to burn the Heavenly Lord's origin. Swallow it. However, the middle-aged man's action of burning the Heavenly Lord's origin excited Ningyu. The devouring power surged out and began to devour. Poof! Poof! In just a few minutes, Ningyu had devoured 1/3 of the middle-aged man's Heavenly Lord's origin. This is not a loss. Feeling the additional Heavenly Lord's origin in his body, Ningyu was very satisfied. Since ancient times, there were very few experts who had the Heavenly Lord's origin in their bodies before reaching the Heavenly Lord realm. According to Ningyu's speculation, the top 3 geniuses on the Heavenly Lord's substitute role must have the Heavenly Lord's origin. As he had never challenged the Heavenly Lord's substitute role, he did not know the strength of the experts on the list. The middle-aged man raised his head and screamed. He burned the Heavenly Lord's origin in order to fight against Ningyu and kill Ningyu. Unexpectedly, a terrifying, devouring force burst out from Ningyu's body, and it actually devoured the Heaven Monarch's source energy that Ningyu displayed. Patriarch! Knowing that he could not fight against Ningyu, the middle-aged man finally decided to call for help. He screamed and took out a crystal ball and crushed it. Gotcha! The crystal ball shattered. In the Su clan's guest hall, the white-robed elder's expression turned ugly. What's going on? Rong Tianjun asked. Nothing. It might be an illusion. The white-robed elder, who was the Su clan's patriarch, shook his head slowly and said, I have already informed the Zhao clan and the Mo clan. I believe they will bring their geniuses here soon. That's good. There's no hurry, Rong Tianjun said indifferently. Is it really an illusion? The Su clan's patriarch frowned. He had not looked too good. At the same time, in the Su clan's prison, the middle-aged man screamed again. You. He pointed at Ningyu with his right hand and said in fear, You can isolate space? The middle-aged man did not expect that the message he sent out from the crystal ball would be blocked by Ningyu. One had to know, once the message was blocked, the Su clan's patriarch would not come to save him, and he was destined to be captured or killed by Ningyu. It's all thanks to your Heavenly Lord's origin. Ningyu heaved a sigh of relief and thought that it was a close call. Fortunately, he had devoured the middle-aged man's Heavenly Lord's origin. Otherwise, he would not have been able to block the message. Everything was fine now. The message was blocked. No one would come to help the middle-aged man in a short period of time. I want to rely on you. The middle-aged man rolled his eyes and said in a deep voice, I am willing to let go of my mind and let you control it. With a Heavenly Lord fighter, you could do whatever you want in Kuin-Su City. A Heavenly Lord fighter? No need. Chapter 23:08. Don't even think about it. The middle-aged man gritted his teeth and said fiercely, Even if I self-destruct, I will not let you devour my Heavenly Lord's source. As he spoke, the middle-aged man's body gradually expanded. It was obvious that he had decided to self-destruct. It's not that easy. How could Ningyu watch as the middle-aged man self-destructed? After all, the middle-aged man was a heavenly lord expert. Once he self-destructed, the consequences would be unimaginable. Swoosh! With both feet on the ground, Ningyu shot out like a sharp sword. Ningyu's speed was so fast that it only took him 0.1 seconds to arrive in front of the middle-aged man. Stab! He waved the red demon sword in his hand. It stabbed right into the middle-aged man's chest. It seemed to be deflated or something else. In short, the middle-aged man's swollen body immediately shriveled. Moreover, this shriveling was not normal. Devouring power. Ningyu injected a terrifying devouring power into the red demon sword. In the blink of an eye, the middle-aged man's heavenly lord source was completely devoured. Feeling the disappearance of the heavenly lord source in his body, the middle-aged man let out a hysterical roar. The middle-aged man knew very well. Without the heavenly lord source, he would become a lamb waiting to be slaughtered by Ningyu. Phew! After devouring the middle-aged man's heavenly lord source, Ningyu let out a long breath. If nothing went wrong, Ningyu was confident that he could challenge the heavenly lord substitute list and reach the first place. With his current combat power, he would not be afraid even if he were to face a real heavenly lord. He might even be able to kill him. In other words, if Ningyu had his current strength before he met the middle-aged man, he might not need to use more than 1,000 heavenly elixirs to kill the middle-aged man easily. Old Ancestor will not let you off. Before the middle-aged man died, he stretched out his right hand and pointed at Ningyu fiercely. However, before he could finish his sentence, the middle-aged man fell backwards. At this moment, the middle-aged heavenly lord, the Su family's unparalleled expert, was killed by Ningyu. Gulp! Su Bao, Su He, and even the twin-horned beast couldn't help but gulp when they saw the middle-aged man's tragic death. Savage. Extremely savage. Is Ningyu really at the Mastery Sane Immortal stage? They were very skeptical. After all, it was rare for a late-stage Sane Immortal to kill a heavenly monarch since ancient times. Sha-sha. Ignoring the shock of Su He and the others, Ningyu moved to the side of the middle-aged man, squatted down, and started searching. How unlucky. After a while, Ningyu stood up and grumbled. Ningyu originally thought that since the middle-aged man was a heaven monarch expert, he should have plenty of Dharma treasures and elixirs on him. However, the middle-aged man did not even have an ordinary pill on him, let alone a heavenly pill. What a pity. Then, Ningyu picked up the 2 pieces of the world-annihilating sword on the ground and sighed. The world-annihilating sword was a Lord of Heaven-level magic treasure and was extremely powerful. However, when faced with the red demon sword, it still suffered a grievance and was sliced in 2. Red demon, I'll leave it to you. After throwing the 2 pieces of the world-annihilating sword into the red demon's sword, Ningyu shifted his gaze to the 4th zone of the heavenly prison. After the middle-aged man died, the 4th zone was guarded by the bronze stone door. As long as he could open the bronze stone door, Ningyu would be able to see Su Ying, who was trapped inside. After taking a deep breath, Ningyu took a step forward and placed his right hand on the bronze stone door. A force flowed through Ningyu's palm and into the bronze stone door. However, the force drilled into the bronze door, but it didn't budge at all. Ningyu felt that the situation was a little unbelievable. One had to know. He had used 80% of his strength just now. 80% of his strength had not moved the bronze stone door at all. One could imagine that even if he used 100% of his strength, it would be impossible to open the bronze stone door. It's useless. Behind him, Sui shook his head and said, "Unless we have the ancestral patriarch's key, it's impossible to open the bronze stone door." Ning Lu, do you have any ideas? After glaring at Su He, Ningyu turned to look at Ning Lu and asked. Ning Lu's original body was the Tree of World. He might have a way to break the bronze stone door. Ning Lu slowly walked to the bronze stone door and looked at it. He then shook his head and said, "No, the structure of this bronze stone door is very special. Unless I can advance to the Lord of Heaven realm, there is no way." Damn it, Ningyu cursed. He had gone through a lot to get here. Who would have thought that he would not be able to break the bronze stone door and save Su-Ying? All of you step back. I don't believe it. Ningyu suddenly stepped forward and gathered the divine chi in his body on his fist. He punched at the bronze stone door with a violent gust of wind. Bang! The fist and the door collided. The result was obvious. The bronze stone door was unscathed, but Ningyu's fist had a bloody mark. Double-horned demonic beast. Ningyu looked at the double-horned demonic beast and said, "Your master, Lord of Heaven Rong, is a Lord of Heaven expert. Is there any way to contact him? It's just a small matter. Why bother Lord of Heaven Rong?" The double-horned demonic beast waved its hand casually and said proudly, "Give me 10 minutes. I promise I can break it." "Are you sure?" Ningyu said hesitantly. If he could not break the bronze stone door, the double-horned demonic beast was weaker than him. Could it really break it? Of course it's true. The double-horned demonic beast released all the energy in its body and rushed at the bronze stone door. Creak! As the energy came into contact with the bronze stone door, it actually made a creaking sound. What the F***? Seeing the change in the bronze stone door, Ningyu cursed. The double-horned demonic beast did not lie to him. It could really break the bronze stone door. Let me tell you, this bronze stone door is extraordinary. You need to find a stable point inside and pour all your energy into it. The double-horned demonic beast twisted its neck and said, "I might not need 10 minutes to open it." Creak, creak, creak. It was proven. The double-horned demonic beast did not lie. In just 5 minutes, the bronze stone door was completely opened. Su-Bao, you two go in first. Ningyu was not a fool. He would not foolishly enter the 4th zone of the heavenly prison first. Instead, he chose to let Su-He and Su-Bao go in. All right, Su-He and Su-Bao looked at each other and carefully approached the bronze stone door. Swish! However, just as Su-He's right foot stepped on the other side of the bronze stone door, there was a sudden change. A cold light shot out from the other side of the bronze stone door. Crack! The cold light was extremely fast. In just 0.01 seconds, it chopped off Su-He's right foot. Hiss! The sudden change caused the void leopard to suck in a breath of cold air, and it hurriedly retreated. It's the Su clan's Imperial Guard. Su-Bao's entire body was trembling, and his lips could not stop trembling. Su clan's Imperial Guard? Ningyu said doubtfully. Chapter 2309. 20 Half-Step Heavenly Monarchs. Ningyu looked at the other side of the bronze door and frowned. This is not a big problem. With Ningyu's current strength, he could even kill a real heavenly monarch, let alone a half-step heavenly monarch. 20 heavenly monarchs might be a lot, but their combined combat power might not be as high as that of a heaven residence expert. It seems like they can't come out, Ningyu said doubtfully after observing for a while. Void Leopard nodded and replied, "Indeed, they can't come out. The old ancestor must have ordered them to stay in the 4th zone of the heavenly prison. Let's go." Ningyu would not waste time. With a wave of his hand, he leaped into the air and charged towards the side of the bronze door. 20 half-step heavenly monarchs were not enough to scare him. Swish! As soon as Ningyu entered the bronze door, several cold lights flew toward him. Small tricks. With a flick of his wrist, Ningyu sent out several palm prints. Chi! 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 When the palm prints and the cold lights made contact, they both shattered. Next, 10 Su family guards slowly appeared in front of Ningyu. "How dare you trespass the Su family's forbidden ground?" One of the guards with the crew cut took a step forward and said coldly, "If you know what's good for you, kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake. Otherwise, PFFF." Before the crew cut Imperial Guard could finish his words, he felt his body lighten as he was sent flying backward. Bang! Accompanied by a crisp sound, the crew cut Imperial Guard fell heavily to the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. Su family guards are just SOSO. Ningyu waved his hand and said indifferently, "I'll give you a chance to live. Submit to me, or all of you will die." What? The martial artist with the crew cut was instantly defeated, which made the other 9 martial artists' expressions change drastically. They did not expect the martial artist with the crew cut to be defeated in one move. It should be known, the cultivator with the crew cut was the vice commander of the Sioux clan's Imperial Guards. He was extremely powerful. Even the martial artist with a crew cut had been defeated. It was conceivable that if they continued to foolishly charge forward, they would definitely die. Quick, inform the commander. The remaining 9 Imperial Guards raised their heads and shouted. Each of them took out a crystal ball and crushed it. Kacha! 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 The sound of the crystal ball shattering kept ringing. Courting death, Ning Yu's expression turned cold, and he hurriedly drew out the red demon's sword and slashed through the air. Since these guards didn't want to live, there was no need for Ning Yu to hold back. Swish, swish, swish. He slashed out several sword radiants, and every sword radiance contained some heavenly monarch origin. To fight against a half-step heaven monarch, one had to use the heaven monarch source. Otherwise, with Ning Yu's current strength, it would be very difficult for him to defeat them in one move. Pu. The 9 Imperial Guards wanted to dodge, but the sword radiance, which contained the heaven monarch source, was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it was in front of them. Apart from the crew-cut Imperial Guard who didn't taste the power of the sword radiance, the other 9 Imperial Guards were all hit by the sword radiance. Fresh blood spurted out uncontrollably. The 9 Imperial Guards all fell to the ground, and their auras dropped to the freezing point. Devour them. Ning Yu wouldn't waste such a good opportunity. 9 Imperial Guards. No, it should be 10 half-step Heaven Monarch Realm Imperial Guards. After devouring these people, his overall strength would at least increase by 1 level. How dare you? However, just when Ning Yu started to devour the Imperial Guards, he heard an angry roar. He saw 10 martial artists in black robes rushing over from afar. Peak of half-step Heaven Monarch. Feeling the aura emitted by the leading martial artist, Ning Yu's expression turned slightly serious. The rest of them were only half-step Heaven Monarchs, and they had just advanced to that level. However, the skinny martial artist at the front made his heart palpitate. This feeling didn't even appear when he was facing the middle-aged man. No. His cultivation must be at least a Heaven Monarch. Ning Yu's expression turned extremely serious. As expected, the skinny martial artist must be the commander of the Sioux family's Imperial Guards. As for why his cultivation was at the Heaven Monarch realm, Ning Yu was also a little confused. Why wouldn't I dare? Shaking his head, Ning Yu threw away all these thoughts in his mind and said indifferently, "Are you saying that only you are allowed to attack me, but I am not allowed to attack you?" As he spoke, the devouring power in Ning Yu's body surged out and instantly devoured an Imperial Guard in front of him. This is so infuriating. Seeing that Ning Yu didn't stop and instead became even more aggressive, the skinny martial artist was so angry that his teeth itched. The Sioux family's old ancestor had asked him to guard Su Ying and prevent any rascals from entering. He originally thought that it would be an easy job. Who would have thought that it would be filled with danger? To be honest, he had seen the intense battle between Ning Yu and the middle-aged man. As he was ordered to guard the 4th level of the prison, he could only watch as the middle-aged man was killed. The 4th level of the prison not only contained Su Ying, but also all the wealth of the Sioux family. The elixirs in the Sioux family's elixir room were just for show. The real foundation of the Sioux family was all in the 4th level of the prison. Therefore, even though the middle-aged man was defeated, the skinny martial artist didn't dare to leave recklessly. The taste is not bad. Ning Yu shrugged and continued to devour the remaining Imperial Guards. Ning Yu was very fast. Almost in an instant, the remaining 9 Imperial Guards, including the crew-cut Imperial Guard, were all devoured by him. After devouring 10 Imperial Guards, Ning Yu felt that his strength had increased a lot. This is interesting. However, what puzzled Ning Yu was that the skinny martial artist just watched him devour the Imperial Guards and didn't interfere. This kind of situation really made him a little confused. Let me give you a piece of advice. Surrender as soon as possible. The skinny martial artist clenched his fists and said fiercely, "This is the Sioux family's forbidden area. Anyone who comes here is destined to suffer." Ignoring the skinny martial artist's threat, Ning Yu extended his senses and started to probe. A moment later, Ningyu withdrew his senses. The corner of his mouth raised into an arc. There's a reason why the skinny martial artist didn't interfere. According to Ningyu's probe, most of the skinny martial artist's energy was spent on the array in the distance. There were two martial artists imprisoned in the array. One was his old friend, Su Ying. As for the other one, although he was ragged and had a head full of white hair, Ningyu was sure that he was at least a heaven monarch. Furthermore, he might be a mid-stage heaven monarch. Su Bao Su He. Ningyu rushed outside the bronze door and said, "Come in and see if that array is the Su family's second-ranked killing array." Swoosh swoosh. Su Bao and Sui didn't dare to delay and quickly flew to Ningyu's side. That's right. It's the second-ranked killing array, the Void Killing Array. Chapter 23:10. The Void Killing Formation. Ningyu stared at the spirit array in the distance. Then, he turned his attention to the skinny cultivator, who was also the commander of the Imperial Guards. He said lightly, "I don't like to talk nonsense. I'll give you two choices. First, bring the other 9 Imperial Guards and join my side. Second, speaking of this," Ningyu paused a little. Then he continued, "Die." Boom! As the word "die" fell from his mouth, a terrifying aura was suddenly emitted from Ningyu's body. After devouring the crew-cut Imperial Guard and the other 9 Imperial Guards, Ningyu's strength had increased a lot. Facing the commander of the Imperial Guards, who was mostly focused on the void-killing formation, there was naturally not much pressure. Crack, crack, crack. In the face of the oppressive aura emanating from Ningyu's body, the Imperial Guard commander's performance was still considered normal, but the other 9 Imperial Guards made cracking sounds at their knees and shivered all over. They were not the same as the commander of the Imperial Guards. The commander of the Imperial Guards was a Heavenly Monarch realm expert, but they were only half-step Heavenly Monarchs. What are you waiting for? Go, all of you go. Whoever kills them, I will report to the old ancestor, and you will be rewarded handsomely. The commander of the Imperial Guards kicked the buttocks of the Imperial Guards in front of him and said in a deep voice, "The deputy commander has been killed. Whoever kills him, I will recommend him to be the deputy commander." Whoosh! The deputy commander was indeed a great temptation to the Imperial Guards. With a great reward, there would always be brave men. The 9 Imperial Guards looked at each other, and finally, they all rushed out at the same time. With so many Imperial Guards attacking together, it was a shocking scene. Oomph! You overestimate yourself. Seeing the Imperial Guards' arrogant attacks, Ningyu snorted and directly took out the red demon sword, waving it continuously. Swish! In a split second, numerous sword rays separated from the red demon sword. To the Imperial Guards, it was really a beautiful dream, but reality was cruel. In just one move, 3 Imperial Guards' throats were slit, and they died on the spot. The sudden change caused the confidence of the remaining 6 Imperial Guards to waver. Ningyu had displayed such terrifying combat power. How were they supposed to fight against him? What was the difference between rushing up like that and throwing away one's life? However, the facts proved that these Imperial Guards were all blinded by Lard. In order to become deputy commanders, they didn't even care about their lives. One after another, they rushed out. Kill. Of course, Ningyu would not hold back. He channeled his immortal chi into the red demon's sword and threw it out. Puff, puff, puff. This time, the Imperial Guards were not so lucky. The red demon's sword had personally attacked, and its body also contained the terrifying divine chi that Ningyu had injected into it. Its might was extremely powerful. The 6 Imperial Guards didn't even have time to react before they were killed. Chi, chi, chi. Ningyu instantly flew to the Imperial Guard's side, and his devouring power gushed out. In just a few seconds, the Imperial Guard was completely devoured. This is infuriating. In just 1 minute, all 9 Imperial Guards had died tragically. The Imperial Guard commander gritted his teeth in anger. However, he had no other choice at the moment. Most of his attention was on the killing formation in the void. Compared to the threat of Ningyu, Su Ying and the disheveled cultivator trapped in the killing formation in the void were the truly terrifying existences. I have to inform the Patriarch. The Imperial Guard commander was not a rash person. He hurriedly took out a crystal ball from his bosom and was about to crush it with force. Swoosh! However, how could Ningyu give him this opportunity? Ningyu stepped on the ground and instantly arrived in front of the Imperial Guard commander. Bang! He clenched his right hand into a fist and sent the Imperial Guard commander flying. The crystal ball flew out of his hand. Ha! Ningyu reacted quickly and caught the crystal ball before it fell to the ground. A sound-transmitting ball, Ningyu released a little of his perception and looked at the crystal ball. Then, he threw it into the red demon sword. Fortunately, the Imperial Guard commander did not succeed. Otherwise, the patriarch of the Su clan would definitely come. With Ningyu's strength, he could win against ordinary heavenly monarchs. However, against a powerful heavenly monarch like the patriarch of the Su clan, the possibility of him winning was not high. Seeing that the sound-transmitting ball had been snatched away by Ningyu, the Imperial Guard commander's eyes shrank. He was dumbfounded. Losing the crystal ball meant that he could not contact the patriarch of the Su clan. Once he could not contact the patriarch, he had only one option left. He had to give up his control of the killing formation in the void and be completely freed. He could then fight with Ningyu openly. Of course, the Imperial Guard commander did not want to see such a situation. After all, the patriarch of the Su clan had personally given him the task of guarding the killing formation in the void. If he could not complete the task, even if he could defeat or even kill Ningyu, he was destined to suffer. What about you? Ningyu shrugged and said indifferently, I gave you a chance, but you did not know how to cherish it. In that case, I have to send you to hell. Swoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu charged forward and swung the red demon sword in his hand. Whoosh! In an instant, several sword rays shot out and attacked the Imperial Guard commander from all directions. Damn it! The Imperial Guard commander cursed inwardly when he saw the sword rays charging at him. He then turned around and flew toward the killing formation in the void. Bang! However, the Imperial Guard commander had just arrived beside the killing formation in the void when he felt his body lighten. He was sent flying into the distance and landed heavily on ground. Who's there? The Imperial Guard commander's expression changed drastically at the sudden change. He stood up with great difficulty and glared at the figure who had appeared before the killing formation in the void. He said viciously, How dare you go against me? No one in this world can save you. Idiot! Ning Lu rolled his eyes and said, I'm impressed by you. You're still so stubborn even when you're about to die. Don't waste time. Finish this quickly. Ningyu chased after him and shouted in a low voice. No problem. Ning Lu flicked his wrist. An aquamarine branch appeared and lashed at the Imperial Guard commander. As for Ningyu, he didn't stay idle either. He injected his divine chi into the red demon's sword and slashed out several sword rays again. You've gone too far. Seeing Ningyu and Ning Lu attacking together, the Imperial Guard commander was so angry that his nose was twisted. After all, he was a Lord of Heaven expert. Even though he had focused most of his attention on the killing formation in the void, he wasn't someone that could be bullied by anyone. Killing explosion fist. As he shouted, the Imperial Guard commander clenched his fists at the same time and punched out. Crack, crack, crack. It turned out that a Lord of Heaven was a Lord of Heaven after all. Even though the Imperial Guard commander didn't divert his attention from the killing formation in the void, he still blocked Ning Lu's attack easily and destroyed the sword rays that Ningyu slashed out. This day, next year, will be the anniversary of your death. The Imperial Guard commander's face was extremely cold. He said furiously, Heavenly Lord's origin, come out. Swish. Chapter 23:11. Chi-Chi. A Heavenly Lord's source burst out from the commander's body. Go! The commander of the Imperial Guards bellowed. He controlled the Lord of Heaven's origin and charged towards Ningyu. The commander knew very well that the biggest threat to him was not Ning Lu, but Ningyu. As long as he could kill Ningyu, he would be out of danger. Therefore, he used half of his Heavenly Lord's source to kill Ningyu in one move. Good timing. Looking at the Heavenly Lord's source that was charging towards him, Ningyu was not afraid. Instead, he was overjoyed. He had devoured the middle-aged man's Heavenly Lord's source, which increased his strength by several times. If he could devour the commander's Heavenly Lord's source, his strength would soar to the point where he could easily kill an early-stage Heavenly Lord. Devour. The devouring power in his body surged out crazily. Ningyu controlled the devouring power and wrapped it around the Heavenly Monarch's origin that the Imperial Guard commander had displayed. Trying to devour my Heavenly Lord's source? Haha, you must be dreaming. The Imperial Guard commander smiled coldly. The commander was very confident. What was the Heavenly Lord's source? Even a little bit of Heavenly Monarch origin could easily kill an ordinary half-step Heavenly Monarch expert. Ningyu was only a late-stage Saint Immortal. No matter how strong he could not withstand the impact of the Heavenly Lord's source. Poof! However, dreams were plentiful, but reality was harsh. The Imperial Guard commander's pupils constricted and his face was filled with shock. He realized that the Heavenly Lord's source that he had displayed had been swallowed by Ningyu. This situation was completely out of his expectations. He had never thought that it would happen. Gulp! He could not help but swallow his saliva. The Imperial Guard commander tried to retrieve the Heavenly Monarch's source energy. It was a pity. No matter how hard he tried, he could not retrieve the Heavenly Lord's source that had been swallowed by Ningyu. Again, the Imperial Guard commander was not someone who would sit and wait for death. He unleashed the Heavenly Monarch origin in his body again, wanting to deal a fatal blow to Ningyu. Ka. The Heavenly Lord's origins swept out, and even the void trembled. Pucci. However, just as the Imperial Guard commander took out the remaining Heavenly Monarch's origin, he felt a fishy sweetness in his throat. Then he spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. The Imperial Guard commander's face turned deathly pale, without any trace of blood. Run! Since he knew that he couldn't fight against Ningyu, the Imperial Guard commander immediately gave up on the void-killing formation and chose to escape. You want to leave? However, how could Ningyu give him the chance to escape? In a flash, Ningyu appeared in front of the Imperial Guard commander. Die! The red demon sword suddenly thrust forward. Without missing a beat, the sword pierced through the heart of the Imperial Guard commander. You can't. Puff! The Imperial Guard commander stretched out his right hand and pointed at Ningyu. He wanted to say something harsh, but before he could finish his words, his body fell backward. Plop! At this moment, the Imperial Guard commander, who had reached the Heavenly Monarch realm and was extremely powerful, was killed. Huff! Seeing that the Imperial Guard commander was killed, Ning Lu and the double-horned demonic beast let out a long breath at the same time. After all, the Imperial Guard commander was a Heavenly Monarch realm expert. Killing him was equivalent to getting rid of a huge problem. Ningyu, can you? As soon as Ningyu killed the Imperial Guard commander, the double-horned demonic beast's voice sounded in his ears. Without thinking, Ningyu knew what the double-horned demonic beast meant. Rolling his eyes, Ningyu said, I'll leave his body to you. I hope you can recover to your peak and improve your strength. Don't worry. After devouring a Heavenly Monarch realm expert, my strength will soar to the top 20 of the Heavenly Monarch substitute list. The double-horned demonic beast guaranteed. I hope so. Ningyu didn't bother with the double-horned demonic beast. He slowly came to the front of the void-killing formation and looked at the two martial artists in the formation. One of them was Su Ying. At this moment, Su Ying's face was pale and his eyes were dim. If it weren't for Ning Yu's sharp senses, he would have thought that Su Ying had been killed. As for the other martial artist in ragged clothes, his white hair was scattered and his real face couldn't be seen. Is there any way to break it? Ning Yu turned around and looked at Ning Lu, asking. The void-killing formation has a formation eye. If I didn't guess it wrong, the key to break it should be the Su family's patriarch, Ning Lu said with a serious face. So we can't break it? Ning Yu frowned. It's not that there is no way. Ning Lu thought about it and said, find a way to enter the void-killing formation and attack from the inside. If we attack the formation eye from both sides, there's a chance that we can break it. Okay, I'll go in. You attack from the outside, and I'll attack from the inside. Ningyu nodded and was about to move forward. Ning Lu hurriedly pulled him back and said, "Your cultivation hasn't reached the Lord of Heaven level. Even if you go in, it won't help." Slightly stunned, Ningyu asked in confusion, "What do you mean?" "It's very simple. If you want to attack the formation eye from the inside, your cultivation must reach the Lord of Heaven level. Otherwise, no matter how many heavenly Lord origins you have, you won't be able to get close to the formation eye," Ning Lu said in a low voice. "Then, isn't it over?" Ningyu was dumbfounded. According to what Ning Lu had said, he had gone through so much trouble to come here, but it was all for nothing. Ahem. At this moment, a dry cough suddenly came into Ning Yu's ears. The voice that came into his ears made Ning Yu slightly stunned. He looked in the direction of the voice. Inside the void-killing formation, a white-haired old man slowly raised his head and said in a hoarse voice, "I can attack the formation eye from the inside." Ning Yu looked around. In the end, he confirmed that it was the white-haired old man who had spoken. "Who are you?" Ning Yu didn't answer the white-haired old man immediately, but asked a question instead. "A lonely old man." The white-haired old man's tone was very calm. He wasn't too excited or angry. Ning Yu's face was full of black lines. A lonely old man? He really dared to say that. Why didn't he call himself a crazy old man? "Little girl, wake up. Your little lover is here to save you." The white-haired old man turned his head and said to Su-Ying, "Who?" Hearing the white-haired old man's words, Su-Ying opened her eyes with difficulty and shifted her gaze to Ning Yu. Swish! Su-Ying's face was filled with shock when she took a look at it. "Ning Yu, why are you here?" Su-Ying was shocked at first. Then she used all her strength to say, "Go. The Su clan's patriarch has been looking for you. If you don't leave now, it'll be too late." It was obvious. Su-Ying was very worried that Ning Yu would be captured by the Su clan's patriarch. Others might not know how powerful the Su clan's patriarch was, but Su-Ying was well aware of it. The strength of the Su clan's patriarch could rank in the top 3 in Koinsu City. "Little girl, you don't have to worry about him." Chapter 23:12. What? Hearing the white-haired elder's words, the twin-horned demonic beast widened its eyes, its face full of shock. How did the white-haired elder know it was from the immortal court? After all, even Ning Yu, Ning Lu, and the others didn't know his true identity. Could the white-haired elder be from the immortal court too? "Don't make a fuss." The white-haired elder glanced at the twin-horned demonic beast and said indifferently, "The most important thing right now is not to waste time on these things, but to find a way to break the void-killing formation. Once the Su family's patriarch comes to his senses, we will all die." Ning Yu was not frightened by the white-haired elder. He said with a serious expression, "What is the Su family's patriarch's cultivation?" In fact, Ning Yu did not mind saving the white-haired elder in the process of saving Su-Ying. However, before saving the white-haired elder, he had to know who the white-haired elder was and whether he was a threat to him. Wouldn't it be very dangerous if they rescued a martial artist who posed a great threat? "Middle stage, Heaven Lord," the white-haired elder replied. "The Su family's patriarch's strength is not as simple as it seems." One last question. Ning Yu thought for a moment and said, "Why should I save you?" "Ha. Without me, you will not be able to save this little girl." The white-haired elder smiled as if he was certain of Ning Yu's victory. "Not necessarily." Ning Yu took a deep breath and took a step forward slowly. The immortal chi in his body gathered on his wrist, and he punched the void-killing formation. Rumble. Under Ning Yu's powerful attack, the void-killing formation let out a rumbling sound. However, this situation only lasted for a moment, and it quickly returned to normal. Obviously, Ning Yu could not break the void-killing formation. Madman. Although Ning Yu was unable to break open the void-killing formation, it gave the white-haired old man a very deep shock. Previously, the white-haired elder thought that without his help, Ning Yu would not be able to break the void-killing formation. Now, The white-haired old man finally understood. Even without him, Ningyu could break the void-killing formation all the same. The only difference was that with him, Ningyu wouldn't get hurt. Without him, not only would Ningyu be injured, his life would be in danger. Are you really willing to do this for her? The white-haired old man didn't quite believe it. He looked at Ningyu and said in a low voice, "Su-ing is my friend. What do you think?" Ningyu looked at the white-haired old man with interest. The white-haired old man and Ningyu looked at each other. Neither of them spoke. For a time, the situation fell into a stalemate. "All right, you win." A moment later, the white-haired elder was the first to break the deadlock. The white-haired old man could not afford to waste time. After being trapped in the void-killing formation for so many years, with the hope of escaping right in front of him, he absolutely could not give up. Even if he had to submit to Ningyu, he would not hesitate. "As long as you save me, I can promise you 3 things," said the white-haired old man. "Deal." Ningyu knew that if he continued to be entangled with the white-haired old man, he would definitely miss the best opportunity to save him. Hence, he did not waste any time and said loudly, "To be on the safe side, I hope you can—" Ningyu didn't continue the rest of his words. However, the white-haired old man understood what Ningyu meant. Swoosh! The white-haired old man forcefully forced out a drop of blood from his body and executed a secret technique to burn it. Swoosh! In an instant, Ningyu felt a connection with the white-haired old man. This connection was very magical. It was as if he could control the white-haired old man's life and death. However, Ningyu knew that this was just a restriction between him and the white-haired old man. Unless the white-haired old man did not fulfill his promise, he could not do anything to the white-haired old man. A restriction unique to the Celestial Court. The white-haired old man broke free from the restriction and walked towards the void-killing formation's formation I. When he attacks the formation I, we will attack from the outside. Seeing the white-haired old man's actions, Ning Lu reminded secretly. Understood. Ningyu was not stupid. Since the white-haired old man was willing to pay the price, he would naturally attack with his full strength. Boom! At this moment, the white-haired old man used all his strength and unleashed an extremely terrifying aura, which pressed towards the formation I. Attack! Seeing the white-haired old man attack, Ning Lu shouted in a deep voice. Ningyu injected all the immortal chi in his body into the red demon sword. In order to break the void-killing formation, he did not even hesitate to burn his blood to increase his strength. Crack! He slashed with his sword. The terrifying sword radiance collided with the void-killing formation. A crisp sound was heard. The white-haired old man was inside, and Ningyu was outside. Under the 2 powerful attacks, at the same time, the void-killing formation looked like it was about to shatter. Me too. Seemingly feeling that Ningyu and the white-haired old man were slightly weaker, Ning Lu also blasted out a punch, smashing it against the void-killing array. As for the double-horned demonic beast, it was not idle either. After devouring so many martial artists, its strength had increased significantly. Crack, crack, crack! Under the attacks of Ningyu, the white-haired old man, Ning Lu, and the double-horned demonic beast, the void-killing formation continued to give off cracking sounds. Crack! About 3 minutes passed like this. When the final crack was heard, the entire illusionary killing formation crumbled to the ground. Ha! I, Bao Wutian, am finally out. After the void-killing formation broke, the white-haired old man raised his head and let out a loud laugh. Swoosh! As soon as the laughter ended, the white-haired old man, who was Bao Wutian, instantly appeared in front of Ningyu and stood still. After sizing up Ningyu, Bao Wutian said, "I will definitely complete what I promised you. However, I have something important to do now. I will naturally come back to find you after I complete it." Buzz! As soon as he finished speaking, Bao Wutian turned into a shadow and disappeared in an instant. Seeing Bao Wutian leave, the double-horned demonic beast was dumbfounded. It wanted to ask if Bao Wutian was from the immortal court, but it did not expect Bao Wutian to leave before it could. "I have to inform Heavenly Lord Rome. The double-horned demonic beast rolled its eyes and immediately sent a voice transmission to Heavenly Lord Rome. The Immortal Court did not open its doors to outsiders. Normally, anyone who came out of the Immortal Court, apart from those who had the token of the Immortal Court, was a wanted criminal of the Immortal Court. However, the wanted criminals of the Immortal Court were not simple. If one's cultivation had not reached the Heavenly Lord realm, there was no way one could become a wanted criminal. Almost every wanted criminal had been involved in many murder cases. As long as one could capture a wanted criminal and send him to the Immortal Court's shrine, one could exchange them for some contribution points. In the Immortal Court's shrine, contribution points could be exchanged for many Dharma treasures and elixirs. Suing, how have you been? Ningyu did not care whether the white-haired old man left or not. He immediately flew to Su Ying's side and took out the lightning tribulation fluid that he had prepared. He handed it to Su Ying and said, "I did not expect that we would have the time to meet again. Why are you so silly?" Su Ying did not stand on ceremony with Ningyu and immediately took the lightning tribulation fluid and swallowed it. Boom! As soon as the lightning tribulation fluid entered his stomach, Su Ying's aura soared. Bang! 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 3 consecutive dull sounds could be heard. Chapter 23:13. How am I stupid? Is it because my cultivation is not as high as yours? Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, "To be honest, I did not expect you to reach the peak of the Saint Immortal stage in such a short time. Are you looking for a beating?" Suing punched Ningyu and said, "I was already a Saint Immortal. The reason why my cultivation was low back then was because I had not merged with my main body yet." "I see." Ningyu sized Suing up from head to toe and said, "No wonder you were a little lowly at that time, yet you've become slender and elegant now. It was said that girls changed 18 times between childhood and womanhood." Ningyu, Suing was still a golden-haired little girl back then. Who would have thought that she would turn into a great beauty all of a sudden? Suing was comparable to Shueiyue Fairy. Glib. Suing glared at Ningyu and changed the topic. "You have to be careful of the Su clan's patriarch. His cultivation has reached the mid-stage of the heavenly monarch realm, and rumor has it that he is colluding with the people of the Immortal Court." Immortal Court. Ningyu's expression became extremely solemn. He had heard of the Immortal Court before, but he did not know where it was exactly. Shueiyue Fairy's parents seemed to be in the Immortal Court. He had promised to bring Shueiyue Fairy to the Immortal Court to look for her parents. Should I let Shueiyue Fairy know? Ningyu gave up on the idea after some thought. Firstly, Shueiyue Fairy was cultivating in seclusion in the Red Demon Sword. Secondly, he was facing a great predicament. It was better not to let Shueiyue Fairy know before he was safe. Otherwise, Shueiyue Fairy might ask to go to the Immortal Court immediately. "Let's go. We can't stay here for long." After taking a deep breath, Ningyu grabbed Su Ying's shoulder and flew out of the prison. "Save us, benefactor, save us. As long as you save us, we are willing to submit to you." Yeah, we were all persecuted by the Su clan's patriarch. Before Ningyu could leave with Su Ying, cries for help sounded in his ears. Obviously, these people were all experts imprisoned in the heavenly prison. Ningyu didn't want to meddle in other people's business. After all, he didn't know if these people were evil people or not. He had a grudge against the Su family, but that didn't mean that he had a grudge against the other people in Kuinsu City. One had to know that once a ferocious expert was released, it was possible to set off a reign of terror in Kuinsu City. However, Su Ying's words completely changed his mind. "Try to help if you can. They're not bad people." Su Ying explained, "Recently, the patriarch of the Su family has been capturing people continuously. His motive is most likely due to the orders of the Immortal Court's backer. I suspect that the Su family's patriarch is up to something big. Ningyu might not care about other people's requests." He had to carefully consider Su Ying's request. He thought about it. Ningyu said in a clear voice, "I can let all of you leave, but all of you have to swear a heavenly Tao oath that after you leave, you're not allowed to do anything that goes against reason and nature. We are willing to swear a heavenly Tao oath. Seeing that there was a chance to leave, the martial artists in the prison all forced out their essence blood and swore a heavenly Tao oath on the spot. Ningyu did not go back on his word. He immediately took out the red demon sword and blasted the prison doors open. Whoosh! A huge number of martial artists instantly regained their freedom. These people did not leave immediately. Instead, they all knelt in front of Ningyu and said in unison, "We are willing to follow our benefactor." Ningyu frowned. He didn't expect these people to be willing to follow him. For a moment, Ningyu was in a difficult position. After saving Su Ying, he didn't want to tangle with the Su family's patriarch anymore. After all, given his current strength, it was almost impossible for him to win against the mid-stage Heavenly Lord Realm Patriarch. "Benefactor, even if you let us all go, we definitely won't be able to escape from the Su family's patriarch." Rip. Many martial artists tore apart the clothes in front of them. Each of them had a 5-finger palm print on their chests. Rakshasa seal. Seeing the palm print on the martial artists' chests, the twin horns demonic beast's expression became extremely solemn. What's a Rakshasa seal? Ningyu was puzzled. In the Immortal Court, there is a mysterious organization called the Azura Palace. The twin horns demonic beast took a deep breath and explained in a low voice. As for the Rakshasa seal, it is a unique palm print of the Azura Palace. Any martial artist struck by the Rakshasa seal will be found. Hearing the twin horns demonic beast's explanation, Ningyu's expression became solemn. Since the martial artists in the prison had the Rakshasa seal on them, it meant that they would not be able to escape. Save a person to the end, send the Buddha to the west. He took a deep breath. Ningyu said in a deep voice, "You can follow me, but you must be obedient. Without my permission, no one is allowed to leave it." As he spoke, Ningyu took out his spatial ring. Since most of the things were stored in the red demon sword, the spatial ring was currently empty. All right. Without any hesitation, the martial artists in the heavenly prison all flew into their storage rings. It did not take long. All the martial artists in the Su clan's prison entered Ningyu's spatial ring. "Let's go." After putting away the spatial ring, Ningyu, Su Ying, and the others flew out of the prison. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. As soon as Ningyu and the others left the prison, 4 experts descended upon them. The 4 great Vajras. That's right. These 4 martial artists were the 4 great Vajras who guarded the Su clan's prison. At that time, Sui had used some benefits to exchange for 10 minutes of free time. Now, it had been a long time since the promise of 10 minutes. Naturally, the 4 great Vajras came over to ask about it. As soon as they landed, the 4 great Vajras' faces were filled with fear. They realized that the woman standing next to Ningyu was very familiar to them. The number 1 criminal of the Su clan, Su Ying. Crack. The great Vajra reacted the fastest. As soon as he saw Su Ying, he took out a crystal ball and crushed it. Puff, 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 puff. After the crystal ball shattered, Ning Lu, the twin-horned beast, Ningyu, and Su Ying quickly made their moves and took care of the 4 great Vajras. Damn it, we were too late. Su Ying's expression darkened as he looked at the shattered crystal ball. "We must leave as soon as possible. The progenitor of the Su clan has received the news and will be here soon." "Ha ha, progenitor of the Su clan, come out and die." As soon as Su Ying finished speaking, a burst of maniacal laughter came from a distance. Ba Wutian, the martial artist who had burst out laughing, was none other than Ba Wutian. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Following Ba Wutian's voice, 4 figures dashed out from the Su clan's guest hall. "Master?" Rong Tianjun, Ningyu, and the twin-horned beast exclaimed when they saw a familiar figure. "Why are there 4 heavenly lords?" Ning Lu said with a stern expression. "Apart from Rong Tianjun, the other 3 are the progenitors of the 3 major clans of Koensu City, the Su clan, the Mo clan, and the Zhao clan." Chapter 23:14. Ba Wutian, how dare you? In midair, the Su family's patriarch looked coldly at Ba Wutian and said viciously, "This is the Su family, not a place for you to behave atrociously." Due to the presence of Rong Tianjun, the patriarch of the Su family could not act up for the time being. He could only pretend to be calm. Actually, in the depths of his heart, he was already furious to the extreme. After all, Ba Wutian was someone he wanted from his backer in the Immortal Court. If they couldn't send Ba Wutian to the Immortal Court within the stipulated time, the consequences would be unimaginable. Not a place for me to behave atrociously. Ba Wutian raised his eyebrows, his gaze sweeping across the cultivators behind the Su family patriarch. After a while, the corner of Ba Wutian's lips curled up. I was wondering who it was. So it's the Zhao clan's ancestor and the Mo clan's ancestor, those two pieces of trash. Obviously, Wutian automatically ignored Rong Tianjun. No matter how stupid Ba Wutian was, he knew that Heavenly Monarch Rong came from the Immortal Court. As a wanted criminal of the Immortal Court, Ba Wutian did not want to have a conflict with Heavenly Monarch Rong. This is too much. Ancestor Zhao and Ancestor Mo's faces turned ugly. No matter what, they were all at the peak of the early stage Heaven Monarch realm. Yet, they were actually looked down upon by Ba Wutian. What happened? Rong Tianjun frowned slightly and said indifferently, "Su clan's patriarch, I hope you can give me a satisfactory answer. Why does the Su clan have a second mid-stage Heaven Monarch expert?" Upon hearing Rong Tianjun's question, the Su clan's patriarch's heart skipped a beat. An early-stage Heaven Monarch realm martial artist might not be able to attract Heaven Monarch Rong's attention, but a mid-stage Heaven Monarch martial artist was different. Even in the Immortal Court, a martial artist at the middle Heavenly Monarch realm could oversee a region. The Su family's ancestor hurriedly explained, "Dozens of years ago, Ba Wutian trespassed Kuinsu City. The Zhao family's ancestor, the Mo family's ancestor, and I joined hands to capture him. At that time, we imprisoned him in the Su clan's heavenly prison. Originally, we thought that we would be able to reform him. Who would have thought that he would actually break out of the heavenly prison and escape? My lord, please calm down. I will take him down right away." His voice fell. Su family's ancestor's figure flickered as he charged toward Ba Wutian. The Su clan's patriarch saw everything clearly. Right now, Ba Wutian wasn't in peak condition. This was the best time to capture Ba Wutian. If they missed this opportunity, they wouldn't get another one. "We'll lend you a hand." The ancestor of the Zhao family and the ancestor of the Mo family moved. All of a sudden, the three heavenly lords of Kuinsu City joined hands to fight against Ba Wutian. Ba Wutian is too impulsive. In the distance, seeing that Ba Wutian was surrounded by three experts, Su Ying said, "The Su clan's patriarch is at the middle stage of the Heaven Monarch realm. The Zhao clan's patriarch and the Mo clan's patriarch are both at the peak of the early stage of the Heaven Monarch realm. Even in a one-on-one fight, Ba Wutian might not be able to defeat the patriarch of the Su clan, let alone 1 against 3. Not necessarily." Ningyu looked at the two sides fighting fiercely on the battlefield and frowned. Ba Wutian has a backup plan. The key to victory does not lie with the Su family patriarchs, but with Rong Tianjun. Su Ying frowned slightly and asked in puzzlement, "What do you mean?" "It's simple." This time, it was the Twin Horns demonic beast that answered Su Ying. The Twin Horns demonic beast raised its nose and said proudly, "Rong Tianjun, my master, is strong enough to crush everything. Whichever side he joins will have an overwhelming advantage." The Twin Horns demonic beast had felt very oppressed in the heavenly prison. Now that it had left the heavenly prison and was so far away from Rong Tianjun, it immediately puffed out its chest. "That's right." Ningyu nodded in agreement. Boom. On the other side, Ningyu and the others were still talking. On the other side, the battle had reached its climax. Ba Wutian was fighting against 3 people by himself, but he was not at a disadvantage. Damn it! Seeing that he could not win after a long time, the Su family patriarch cursed inwardly. He then clenched his right hand into a fist and punched out. This punch, The Su family patriarch used 80% of his strength. Kill. Fight. The Zhao family patriarchs and the Mo family patriarchs all used their trump cards. Just like the Su family patriarch, they each used 80% of their strength. Are they going all out? Ba Wuqian took a deep breath as he looked at the three patriarchs charging at him. He took out 3 black pearls from his bosom. Explode. Along with a low shout, Yi Shiwen's eyes widened. The 3 black pearls exploded in front of the Su family patriarchs and the others. Chi chi chi. A terrifying shockwave spread wildly in all directions from the center of the explosion. Not good. Seeing the aftermath of the explosion rushing towards him, Ningyu hurriedly waved his hands, forming a protective barrier of immortal qi in front of him. Crack, crack, crack. Crisp cracking sounds could be heard. Cracks appeared on the barrier of immortal qi. It was a critical moment. Ning Lu and the Twin Horns demonic beast channeled their energy into the barrier. The 3 of them worked together and finally stabilized the barrier. Puchi, Puchi, Puchi. Ning Yu and the others were at the edge of the explosion and could rely on the barrier of immortal qi to stabilize themselves. However, the Su family patriarchs and the others who were at the center of the explosion were not so lucky. The Su family patriarchs, the Mo family patriarchs, and the Zhao family patriarchs. The 3 of them each spat out a mouthful of blood. Their auras dropped by half. Ha ha ha. Ba Wuqian couldn't help but laugh wildly at the sight of the Su family patriarchs and the others. I've waited for decades for this day. It's finally here. Thump. Ba Wuqian's arrogance made the Su family patriarchs grimace. He clenched his teeth. The Su family patriarchs immediately knelt before Rong Tianjun, cupped his fists and begged, "My lord, please act and kill this arrogant guy." Thump. Thump. The Mo family patriarchs and the Su family patriarchs exchanged glances, then knelt down as well. "My lord, please act." Whoosh. The Su family patriarch's actions made Ba Wuqian's expression turn cold. What he was most wary of was Rong Tianjun interfering. After all, he didn't even have the right to fight back against Rong Tianjun. "I didn't want to interfere in your fight." Rong Tianjun slowly descended and said with a calm expression, "Unfortunately, you are from the immortal court, so I had to act. Master, please have mercy." Seeing that Rong Tianjun was about to attack Ba Wuqian, the twin-horned demonic beast immediately dashed forward. It soon arrived before Rong Tianjun and said, "Ba Wuqian is my friend. I know him." Hearing the double-horned demonic beast's words, Rong Tianjun frowned slightly and asked in confusion, "How do you know him?" Master, I'm not the one who knows Ba Wuqian. It's Ningyu." The twin-horned demonic beast chuckled. Ba Wuqian promised Ningyu that he would help Ningyu 3 times unconditionally. "So I think you should ask for Ningyu's opinion before killing Ba Wuqian." As they spoke, the twin-horned demonic beast looked into the distance. Rong Tianjun followed the twin-horned demonic beast's gaze and saw a familiar figure in the distance. Chapter 23:15. Ningyu looked very helpless. Since the double-horned demonic beast had exposed him, he could only brace himself and walk out. Swish! As expected, what Ningyu worried about finally happened. As soon as he appeared, the Su family patriarch and the Zhao family patriarch looked at him. The Su family patriarch looked at Ningyu mainly because he saw Su Ying behind Ningyu. Su Ying was the same as Ba Wuqian. They were both martial artists wanted by that person in the immortal court. It was fine that Ba Wuqian had escaped, but who would have thought that even Su Ying had escaped? This situation made the Su family patriarch's expression extremely gloomy. If it wasn't for Rong Tianjun, the Su family patriarch would have attacked and killed Ningyu to take Su Ying. As for the old ancestor of the Zhao family, Zhao Hai, the reason why he looked at Ningyu was because Ningyu had destroyed one of his avatars in the Hong family. The destruction of his clone had caused his strength to drop greatly. He would definitely take revenge for this. Ningyu did not appear to be too flustered, even though he was stared at by 2 heavenly monarchs. He rubbed his nose and went straight to Rong Tianjun. "I rescued Ba Wuqian from the Su family's prison. He promised to do 3 things for me. I can choose not to, Rong Tianjun said after some thought. However, Rong Tianjun suddenly changed the topic halfway and said, but Ba Wuqian wants to return to the immortal court with you. Ningyu looked at Ba Wuqian and wanted to ask for his opinion. I have no objections, Ba Wuqian quickly said. Ba Wuqian wasn't a fool. In other words, being able to keep his life was already a blessing in disguise. If it wasn't for Ningyu and the double-horned demonic beast, he would have been killed by Rong Tianjun. The people of the immortal court always killed wanted criminals on sight. After all, killing a wanted criminal could be exchanged for a certain amount of contribution points in the temple. Furthermore, his cultivation was at the middle stage of the Heaven Monarch realm. If Jiang Yi killed him, he would be able to exchange for a large number of contribution points. If not for Ningyu and the double-horned demonic beast, there was no reason for Rong Tianjun to let him go. My lord, the old ancestor of the Su family's face darkened when he saw that Heavenly Lord Rong wanted Ba Wutian to follow them to the immortal court. He said hastily, "Can you hand Ba Wutian over to us?" Humph. Before the Su family's patriarch could finish his sentence, Rong Tianjun snorted and said, "What I want to do is not up to you to decide. Next, call all the geniuses from your 3 families over. I want to test them." Heavenly Lord Rong didn't want to waste any more time. He said in a clear voice, "Those who pass the test can return to the immortal court with me. Those who fail will have to wait for the next test 30 years later." After being berated by Rong Tianjun, the Su family's patriarch didn't even dare to let out a fart. Even though the Su family's patriarch was extremely unwilling, he had no choice but to wave his hand and call out all the geniuses in the Su family who fit the criteria. Other than that, Mo family's ancestor, Mo He, and Zhao family's ancestor, Zhao Hai, also called out their geniuses. Splash! Not long after, the geniuses of the 3 families all landed in the courtyard of the Su family. Among them, the Su family had a total of 3 geniuses who fit the criteria. They were called Su Hu, Su Pai, and Su Shun. The Zhao family had a total of 2 geniuses who fit the criteria: Zhao Liang, Zhao Dongming. The Mo family also only had 2 geniuses: Mo1, Mo Fei. My lord, I just heard that you seem to have given Ningyu a token. At this moment, the Su family's patriarch had a thought and said, "I feel that we should let the geniuses of the Su family spar with Ningyu. At the same time, we can also find out what we are lacking in." Rong Tianjun looked at Ningyu and then at the 3 so-called geniuses of the Su family. He couldn't bear to do that. Spar? Ningyu's current strength had far exceeded his imagination. If he didn't guess wrongly, if he used his full strength, Ningyu would probably be able to kill an early-stage Heaven Monarch expert. Although the 3 geniuses of the Su family could be ranked in the top 500 of the Heaven Monarch substitute list, they had no chance of winning against Ningyu. In fact, as long as Ningyu wanted to, he could instantly kill them. My lord, I will warn them and ask them to hold back. The Su family's patriarch was afraid that Rong Tianjun would reject him and quickly said, "After all, it is a spar. They cannot use killing moves." Hearing the Su family's patriarch's words, Su Ying couldn't help but sneer. Su Ying, as a junior of the Su family, how can you sneer at such an important occasion? What are you doing? Hurry up and get over here. Su Ying's sneer made the Su family's patriarch feel that his chance had come. He berated Su Ying and said coldly, "You offended my lord. Even if you died 10,000 times, it won't be enough. I have already left the Su family." Su Ying didn't give in and said coldly, "I have nothing to do with the Su family now. You are the Su family's patriarch. What right do you have to order me around?" You. The Su family's patriarch was so angry that his nose was crooked. "All right, I agree to the spar between Ningyu and the geniuses of the Su family." Rong Tianjun waved his hand, indicating that the Su family's patriarch and Su Ying didn't have to quarrel. "Thank you, my lord." The Su family's patriarch was overjoyed. He first thanked Rong Tianjun and then turned to Su Hu and said, "Su Hu, you will spar with Ningyu first." "Yes, patriarch." Suhu took a step forward and hooked his finger at Ningyu and said, I only need to use 50% of my strength to deal with you. 50% of your strength? Ningyu rolled his eyes. Since when are these geniuses so arrogant? A person ranked around 500 on the Heaven Monarch substitute list actually dared to talk to him like this. One had to know, if he used his full strength, he could even kill a Heaven Monarch expert with ease. Why? Are you afraid? The corner of Suhu's mouth rose as he said sinisterly, If you are afraid, then quickly kneel down and kowtow to me. Then stay in the Su family and cultivate obediently. Let me stay in the Su family. Ningyu didn't think much about it at first. However, Suhu's words finally made him understand. Suing had told him that he was captured because the Su family's patriarch had detected the aura of the Tree of World on him. Because of this, therefore, the Su family's patriarch had been sending people to look for him. Now that he had taken the initiative to appear, the Su family's patriarch would definitely think of a way to keep him in the Su family. However, while the ideal was great, the reality was very harsh. Ningyu took a step forward and raised a finger. He said, I don't even need to use 10% of my strength to deal with you. Arrogant. You are courting death. Ningyu's arrogant behavior infuriated the other two geniuses of the Su family, Su Pai and Su Shun. They wished that they were the ones who made the move. This way, they could teach Ningyu a lesson and let Ningyu know why flowers were red. Interesting. The geniuses of the Zhao family and the Mo family crossed their arms in front of their chests and looked at Ningyu with strange eyes. They were just watching the show. In their opinion, the fight between Ningyu and Suhu would definitely be the winner. Although Suhu was slightly weaker than them, he was enough to be ranked in the top 500 of the Heaven Monarch substitute list. Chapter 23:16. I have to say, you're the most arrogant Saint Immortal I've ever seen. I really don't understand why a late-stage Saint Immortal dares to be so arrogant. Suhu was not angered by Ningyu's words. Instead, he hooked his finger at Ningyu and said, Come here, kneel down, and kowtow a few times. Otherwise, I'll show you what cruelty is. There are idiots every year, but there are especially many this year. Ningyu shrugged and said, For trash like Suhu, he didn't even need to use 10% of his strength to easily kill him. The reason why he didn't make a move immediately and chose to waste time with Suhu was because he was hiding his Heavenly Lord source. Just now, the Su clan's old ancestor, Mo He, and Zhao Hai all released their senses and wandered around their bodies. Ningyu wasn't a fool. He had to hide his Heavenly Lord source as much as possible. After all, a corner dog would jump over a wall. Ningyu was rather worried that the Su clan's old ancestor would deal with him after he defeated Suhu. You're courting death. Ningyu's words completely enraged Suhu. He stomped on the ground, and Suhu leaped out. Chi-chi. Suhu's speed was very fast. He was so fast that the friction with the air made a hissing sound. Suhu arrived in front of Ningyu in almost an instant. He clenched his right hand into a fist and gathered all the energy in his body around it. He threw a punch. Not bad. You're ranked around 500 on the Heavenly Lord substitute list, yet you're able to explode with the energy of around 450. Rong Tianjun couldn't help but nod when he saw the terrifying energy ripple on Suhu's fist. According to the test conditions, Su was satisfied. He could now give out the token to enter the Immortal Court. Thank you, Lord. The Su clan's old ancestor quickly thanked Rong Tianjun. Don't thank me. Heavenly Lord Rong waved his hand and said, If Suhu can withstand a single strike from Ningyu, I will give him the token to enter the Immortal Court. But if he can't even withstand a single strike, I can only apologize to you. Not to mention one move, even if it's 10 moves or 100 moves, Suhu will still be able to deal with them with ease. What? The Su family's patriarch patted his chest and guaranteed. However, halfway through his words, the Su clan's patriarch's eyes widened in shock. Kacha! A crisp sound rang in his ears. Ningyu's fist collided with Suhu's fist, which was unavoidable. The two collided. Ningyu stood still in the same place. On the other hand, Suhu flew back several feet and only stopped when his body smashed into the wall. Pucci. Dark red blood spurted out. Suhu's aura instantly dropped from the peak Saint Immortal realm to the early Saint Immortal realm. Moreover, this state of aura decline did not stop. 3 seconds later, Suhu's aura dropped from the early Saint Immortal realm to the freezing point. At this moment, even a strong man without the strength to truss a chicken could easily kill Suhu. How is this possible? The Su clan's old ancestor's eyes widened and his mouth opened wide. His face was filled with shock. He would never have imagined it. Someone as strong as Suhu couldn't even withstand a single move. What kind of freak was Ningyu? He defeated Suhu, who was ranked around 500 on the Heavenly Lord Substitute ranking, with a single move. Did this mean that Ningyu was ranked around 400 on the Heavenly Lord Substitute ranking? Can't even withstand a single blow. Ningyu clapped his hands and turned to look at the other two geniuses of the Su clan. He said calmly, "If the two of you want to make a move, I hope you can do it together. Try not to waste my time." Arrogant. How dare you? Ningyu's arrogant words infuriated Su Pai and Su Shun. Sha. Su Pai took a step forward and said coldly, "Don't think that you could defeat me just because you defeated Suhu. To tell you the truth, Suhu can only be ranked around 500 on the Heavenly Lord Substitute ranking, but I can be ranked 400. I can be ranked 300 on the Heavenly Lord Substitute ranking." Su Shun said fiercely, "I don't even need 10% of my strength to deal with you." Ningyu rolled his eyes and said, "You talk too much. If you want to make a move, then do it. If not, then get lost. Kill." Su Pai and Su Shun looked at each other, then rushed out in unison. It was obvious. The two of them were already furious. It didn't matter if Ningyu insulted Suhu. After all, they didn't have a good relationship with Suhu. However, they couldn't tolerate Ningyu insulting them. Su clan's old ancestor, it seems that your Su clan's geniuses aren't good enough. Zhao Hai raised the corner of his mouth and looked at the Su clan's patriarch. 3 against 1. Don't get killed in the end. That would be a bit unreasonable. The Su clan's geniuses are all very strong. They have 3 in the top 500 of the Heavenly Lord Substitute ranking. How can our 2 clans compare? Emohi curled his lips and said, "Humph." The Su clan's patriarch snorted and said in a deep voice, "Su Pai and Su Shun are very strong. With them making a move, Ningyu will be." Halfway through his sentence, the Su clan's patriarch stopped abruptly. Bang! Bang! 2 figures fell heavily in front of him. Without a doubt, the 2 martial artists who had fallen here were Su Pai and Su Shun. Ha! Seeing Su Pai and Su Shun instantly defeated, Zhao Hai and Mo, he couldn't help but laugh. Ka. As for the Su clan's patriarch, he clenched his fists so hard that they made cracking sounds. The 3 geniuses of the Su clan were all defeated by Ningyu. He would never have thought of such a situation even if he was beaten to death. If someone told him that the 3 geniuses of the Su clan would be defeated, he would probably scold that person for having a mental problem. Now that the truth was in front of him, he was stunned for a moment. "My lord, you see." The Su clan's patriarch reacted quickly. He looked at Rong Tianjun and said hesitantly, "Do they still have a chance to obtain the token? Their strength is acceptable, but they couldn't take a punch from Ningyu. We'll talk about it in 30 years. Rong Tianjun said indifferently. Boom! Rong Tianjun's words made the Su clan's patriarch's head explode. For so many years, he had gone through so much hardship and consumed a lot of resources to nurture the 3 geniuses of the Su clan. Who would have thought? They couldn't even withstand one move. The price was too high, so high that he couldn't bear it. He gritted his teeth. The Su clan's patriarch came in front of Su Shun and patted his shoulder with his right hand. "How much strength did you use just now? How much strength?" Su Shun was a little confused. In order to kill Ningyu with one move, he had used 100% of his strength. In fact, he had almost used all of his strength. Unfortunately, Ningyu was too strong. Even though he and Su Pai had used all of their strength, they were still defeated in one move. "Trash, I'm helping you." The Heavenly Lord Origin and the Su clan's patriarch surged out and entered Su Shan's body through his palm. Swish! Feeling the additional Heavenly Lord Origin in his body, Su Shan immediately understood. Chapter 23:17. Swish! Su Shan's words caused everyone's gaze to shift towards him. A sore loser. Everyone's impression of Su Shan was that he was a sore loser. He had already been defeated, yet he still dared to say that he had only used 10% of his strength. However, Su Shan did not care about everyone's strange gazes. He turned around and cupped his fists at Rong Tianjun. My lord, I want to fight with Ningyu again. I want to show him how powerful I am. How could you say that? Before Rong Tianjun could speak, the double-horned demonic beast beside him twitched its mouth and said, I've seen many shameless people, but this is the first time I've seen someone as shameless as you. I'm just telling the truth. Su Shan was neither servile nor overbearing. He said proudly, if I use 100% of my strength, defeating Ningyu will be easier than killing a dog. Come. Before I fight with Ningyu, let me test your strength first. The double-horned demonic beast took a step forward and was about to attack. Back off. Rong Tianjun's expression turned cold as he scolded. You'd better not say anything without my permission. Yes. The double-horned demonic beast lowered its head and responded with a wronged expression. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell. Su Shan was acting shamelessly. The Su family's patriarch had patted his shoulder just now. Who knew what had happened? Perhaps the Su family's patriarch had left something in his body or given him some trump card. The Su family's patriarch was a mid-stage Heaven Monarch expert. No matter how strong Ningyu was, it would be difficult for him to win against a mid-stage Heaven Monarch expert. Rong Tianjun looked at Ningyu and asked, What do you think about this? I'm willing to accept the challenge. Ningyu knew what Rong Tianjun meant. He nodded and said, Su Shan said that he didn't use 100% of his strength, so I gave him a chance. However, speaking up to this point, Ningyu paused for a moment, then continued. This is the second fight, so there should be something interesting. What stakes do you want? Su Shan asked. I'll take the heavenly pill. Ningyu shrugged his shoulders and said, If I lose, I'll give you 1,000 heaven pills. If you lose, you give me 1,000 heaven pills. Deal. Su Shan answered without hesitation. Not to mention 1,000 heavenly pills. Even if it was 10,000, Su Shan would agree without hesitation. In any case, he didn't have to come up with the elixirs. Furthermore, he still had the Heaven Monarch's source left behind by the Su clan's patriarch. No matter what, it was impossible for him to lose. Damn, I didn't say enough. Seeing Su Shan agree so readily, Ningyu was a little vexed. If he had known earlier, he would have said more. But now that things had come to this, Ningyu couldn't change anything. He took a step forward and said to Su Shan, I hope you use your full strength. Otherwise, you won't be able to withstand a single move like before. Don't worry. Even if you don't say anything, I will still go all out. Su Shan twisted his neck, then stomped his feet on the ground and sprang forward like a spring. Chi! At lightning speed, Su Shan appeared in front of Ningyu in the blink of an eye. The Heavenly Monarch Origin in his body gushed out and gathered on his fist. For this punch, Su Shan used all the Heavenly Monarch Origin. Pa! Ningyu's right fist turned into a palm and held Su Shan's fist firmly. Absorb! Ningyu didn't use his full strength. Instead, his devouring power gushed out and frantically devoured the Heavenly Monarch Origin on Su Shan's fist. What happened? I'm not sure. Did Su Shan really not use his full strength? It's hard to say. Su Shan is a martial expert ranked around the 300th rank on the Heavenly Monarch substitute list. Logically, no matter how strong Ningyu is, he shouldn't be able to defeat Su Shan in a single move. From the looks of it, Su Shan might really be careless. The four prodigies from the Zhao clan and the Mo clan all discussed. Since the process of the two fights was different, they thought that Su Shan probably didn't use his full strength. Under such circumstances, they all thought that Su Shan would win. A bunch of idiots. The reaction of the four prodigies from the Zhao clan and the Mo clan made the double-horned demonic beast roll its eyes and think to itself. What strength did Ningyu have? He was an existence that could even kill a heavenly monarch expert effortlessly. How could a rotten fish like Su Shan be a match for Ningyu? Ningyu definitely had his reasons for doing this. You. Feeling the heavenly monarch origin diminishing in his fist, Su Shan was alarmed. Ningyu could actually devour the heavenly monarch origin. Su Shan wanted to contact the Su clan's patriarch, but he realized that there seemed to be a barrier in front of him, completely isolating him from the Su clan's patriarch. No matter how hard he tried, he couldn't contact the Su clan's patriarch. You are indeed very strong. In order not to arouse the Su clan's patriarch's suspicion, Ningyu pretended to have a pale expression and said solemnly, "To deal with you, I have to use my trump card. What's going on?" The Su clan's patriarch frowned slightly and was a little puzzled. What on earth was Su Shan doing? Why didn't he make a forceful move and defeat Ningyu? The Su clan's patriarch was very furious. One had to know that in order to let Su Shan defeat Ningyu, he did not hesitate to expend a quarter of the heavenly monarch origin and injected it into Su Shan's body. Now it was great. Not only did Su Shan not make a forceful move, but he was also exchanging punches with Ningyu. Drip, drip. Just like that, time seemed to have stopped. In the blink of an eye, a minute passed. Many thanks. Ningyu suddenly smiled at Su Shan and immediately exerted some force with his palm, forcing Su Shan back. A force poured into Su Shan's body. Even though Su Shan tried his best to resist, he still couldn't resist this force. The force rampaged around Su Shan's body, and before long, Su Shan's internal organs were completely destroyed. Dark red blood spurted out. Su Shan knelt on the ground on both knees. What? Seeing Su Shan's defeat, the Su clan's patriarch was the most shocked. The Su clan's patriarch never expected that Su Shan, who had a quarter of his heavenly monarch origin, would be defeated. A quarter of his heavenly monarch origin was enough to fight against the top 10 geniuses on the heavenly monarch substitute list. Now that Su Shan had been defeated, could it be that Ningyu was one of the top 5 geniuses on the heavenly monarch substitute list? The more he thought about it, the more likely the Su clan's patriarch was. Damn it! However, the Su clan's patriarch could only be furious. He had no other choice. He had already expended a quarter of his heavenly monarch origin. He couldn't possibly expend any more heavenly monarch origin to deal with Ningyu. Unless, thinking of this, the Su clan's patriarch took a step forward and said to Lord of Heaven Rome, "My lord, Ningyu is indeed very powerful. I would like to spar with him." What? Hearing the Su clan's patriarch's words, the double-horned demonic beast couldn't take it anymore. It mocked. "You're a F***king heavenly monarch expert, and you want to spar with a late-stage Saint Immortal Jr. Aren't you ashamed of yourself?" Lord of Heaven Rome glared at the double-horned demonic beast, but didn't reprimand it. Chapter 23:18. The patriarch of the Su family was a heaven monarch, and a mid-stage heaven monarch at that. No matter how strong Ningyu was, he was only at the mastery Saint Immortal stage. Although there were many peerless geniuses in the Immortal Court, Heavenly Lord Rong had never seen anyone in the late Saint Immortal realm who could fight an intermediate Heavenly Monarch realm expert. The change in Rong Tianjuan's expression was completely seen by the Su clan's patriarch. In order to fight Ningyu, the old ancestor of the Su clan gritted his teeth and said to Heavenly Lord Rong, "My lord, what I mean is that I'm willing to suppress my cultivation base to the late-stage Saint Immortal realm to spar with Ningyu." Suppressing my cultivation? Rong Tianjun raised his eyebrows and found it interesting. In the Immortal Court, when some of the major forces nurtured geniuses, most of the experts would suppress their cultivation base and fight with the geniuses to train their ultimate combat strength. If the old ancestor of the Su clan had intentionally suppressed his cultivation base to the late Saint Immortal stage, it was not impossible for Ningyu to win. Thinking of this, Rong Tianjun said indifferently. I agree, but I need to suppress your cultivation. Thank you. How could the Su clan's patriarch dare to bargain? It was a blessing in disguise that Lord of Heaven Rong had agreed to it. After all, even if he suppressed his cultivation to the Mastery Saint Immortal realm, he still possessed an absolute advantage in terms of combat experience. Master, the double-horned demonic beast hurriedly stepped forward, wanting to plead on behalf of Ningyu. Papa! Ningyu patted the double-horned demon beast's shoulder and said with a faint smile, What? You don't believe me? It's not that I don't trust you. I just feel that there's no need for that, the double-horned Yao beast said. Don't worry. A mere patriarch of the Su clan cannot do anything to me. Ningyu waved his hand, indicating for the twin-horned demonic beast to relax. In fact, after the Su family's patriarch lost a quarter of his heavenly monarch origin, his combat power had dropped by a quarter. One side waxed, and the other grew. Even if the ancestor of the Su clan did not suppress his cultivation base to the Mastery Saint Immortal stage, he would not be able to pose a threat to Ningyu. Humph! Shameless boasting. Hearing Ningyu's words, the Su family's ancestor snorted coldly and said fiercely, Since you're so confident, do you dare to sign a life and death contract with me? Voila! The words of the Su clan's progenitor surprised the surrounding cultivators, including the twin-horned monstrous beast and Su Ying, and even Ningyu himself. A life and death contract was not simple. Anyone who had signed a life and death contract would fall into the boundless Avicii hell once they were defeated. The fact that the Su family's old ancestor dared to say such words meant that he was extremely confident. Taking a deep breath, Ningyu tried to calm himself down. He took a step forward and said indifferently, I can sign a life and death contract, but you have to give me the 1,000 heavenly pills that you just lost to me. Pucci! The Su clan's patriarch laughed out loud. He was wondering what Ningyu wanted to say, but it turned out that he wanted the heavenly pill. Forget 1,000 heavenly pills. Even if he was asked to take out 10,000 heavenly pills, he could easily take them out. Whoosh! He flicked his wrist. At that instant, a spatial artifact flew toward Ningyu. Boom! When the space-type weapon arrived in front of Ningyu, it suddenly exploded. Voila! 1,000 heavenly pills scattered in the air. Collect! Ningyu tossed the red demon sword out. How powerful was the red demon sword? Under Ningyu's control, the 1,000 heavenly pills were all collected in just a few seconds. Life and death contract. Seeing that Ningyu had accepted the heavenly pills, the Su clan's progenitor took out a scroll and tossed it into the air. Next, the Su clan's progenitor forced out another 2 drops of blood and dripped them onto the scroll. Whoosh! In an instant, a blood-colored pillar of light shot out from the scroll and soared into the sky. It's your turn. The Su clan's progenitor looked at Ningyu coldly and said, Don't tell me you don't dare. Absolutely not. Seeing that Ningyu wanted to sign a life and death contract with the Su clan's progenitor, Su Ying hurriedly stopped him. The Su clan's progenitor is a mid-stage heavenly monarch. He has many trump cards. It's not wise to sign a life and death contract with him. That's right. There's no need to fight this old man head-on. The double-horned demonic beast persuaded. I also don't think we should sign a life and death contract. Ning Lu also agreed. The 3 of them had the same idea. Signing a life and death contract was not a wise move. It's fine. Ningyu twisted his neck and forced out 2 drops of blood on the spot, which entered the scroll in the air. Whoosh! A similar blood-colored pillar of light surged out and soared into the sky. Soon, Ningyu felt a connection with a mysterious space. Just as expected, this mysterious space should be the Avicii Hell. Come on, let me see how powerful you are. The Su clan's progenitor hooked his finger at Ningyu and said sinisterly, Since I became a heavenly monarch, you're the first person who dared to have a life and death duel with me. Have you lost your mind? Ningyu rolled his eyes. He looked at the Su clan's progenitor and said, You haven't suppressed your cultivation to a late-stage Saint Immortal. Why should I fight you? The Su clan's progenitor was stunned. Ning Lu was stunned. Su Ying was stunned. The double-horned demonic beast was stunned. They had overlooked this point. The life and death duel between the Sioux clan's progenitor and Ning Yu was built on the premise that the Sioux clan's progenitor had suppressed his cultivation to a late-stage Saint Immortal. Thinking about it this way, Ning Yu's chances of winning were obviously much higher. After all, Ning Yu could even kill early-stage Heavenly Monarchs. A mere late-stage Saint Immortal should not be a problem for him. Heavenly Lord Rong, please make your move. Ning Yu turned around and cupped his fists at Heavenly Lord Rong, suppressed the Sioux clan's progenitor's cultivation to a late-stage Saint Immortal. Of course, Heavenly Lord Rong unleashed his aura and pressed down on the Sioux clan's progenitor. Crack, crack, crack. The Sioux clan's progenitor's bones began to creak under the pressure of Heavenly Lord Rong's aura. The Sioux clan's progenitor's aura dropped rapidly. Mid-stage Heavenly Monarch, early-stage Heavenly Monarch, half-step Heavenly Monarch, peak Saint Immortal. In just a short period of time, his aura had dropped to the peak Saint Immortal. Bang! Following a dull thud, the Sioux clan's progenitor's aura dropped to a late-stage Saint Immortal. I shouldn't interfere in your life and death duel, but I'd like to say a few words. Heavenly Lord Rong glanced at the Sioux clan's progenitor, then at Ning Yu, and said calmly, "You must use your own strength. If I discover anyone using someone else's strength, I'll just have to apologize to them." Thump! Ning Yu did not have much of a reaction to Heavenly Lord Rong's words. After all, he could only rely on his own strength. However, the Sioux clan's progenitor's heart skipped a beat. He had initially wanted to use his trump card and secretly use the clone that the Immortal Court had left behind to ensure that he could defeat Ning Yu easily. However, it seemed like it would be difficult for him to use the clone with Heavenly Lord Rong watching him. Damn it! The Sioux clan's progenitor cursed in his heart. He could only force himself to calm down. I'll let you make the first move. Chapter 23:19. I've seen shameless people before, but it's my first time seeing someone as shameless as you. Ning Yu was dumbfounded. The one who attacked first was clearly at a disadvantage, yet it seemed like the Sioux clan's patriarch was doing him a favor. Why don't you make the first move? I'm afraid I'll crush your head with a single punch. Ning Yu shrugged and said calmly, "You're courting death." Ning Yu's words completely infuriated the Sioux clan's patriarch. He cursed and rose from the ground, charging at Ning Yu at a terrifying speed. The Sioux clan's patriarch was extremely fast. He arrived before Ning Yu in an instant. He clenched his right hand into a fist and punched toward Ning Yu's head with a raging energy wave. "Since you want to crush my head, I'll fulfill your wish first." The Sioux clan's patriarch yelled as his fist was about to land on Ning Yu. Bang! However, while the ideal was great, the reality was harsh. Ning Yu raised his right hand and casually threw a punch. The two fists collided. Ning Yu and the Sioux clan's patriarch retreated several zhang back at the same time. In this punch, both sides were evenly matched. Is Ning Yu that strong? Impossible. No matter how strong Ning Yu is, he's only in the top 100 of the Heavenly Lord substitute ranking. How could he be a match for the patriarch? Don't forget that the patriarch has suppressed his cultivation to the late-stage Saint Immortal realm. He's already at a disadvantage. The three geniuses of the Sioux clan, Su Pai, Su Shun, and Su Hu, all wore unpleasant expressions. It was obvious. The fact that Ning Yu was evenly matched with the Sioux clan's patriarch in the first exchange had a huge impact on them. I admit that I underestimated you. The Sioux clan's ancestor took a deep breath. He coldly looked at Ning Yu and said, "However, for the first move, I was only testing my strength. I only used 10% of my strength. Next, I will use 100% of my strength. You'd best wait." Noisy. Without waiting for the Sioux clan's patriarch to finish speaking, Ning Yu leaped into the air and punched out. It was a critical moment. Sioux clan's ancestor could not be bothered to boast, and hurriedly raised his hand in response. Gotcha! The second move came to an end with a crisp sound. Ning Yu stood where he was without moving, while the Sioux family's patriarch took a few steps back. With this move, Ningyu had the upper hand. You. The Sioux clan's patriarch was so angry that his nose became crooked. Ningyu did not play by the rules. He hadn't even finished taunting Ningyu when Ningyu attacked him. What about you? Ningyu rolled his eyes at the Sioux family patriarch. Then he took out a heavenly pill and tossed it into his mouth. Boom! A heavenly pill instantly replenished all the energy Ningyu had consumed. The Sioux clan's patriarch followed suit and took out a heavenly pill as well, intending to toss it into his mouth. Whoosh! However, before the Sioux clan's patriarch could toss the heavenly pill into his mouth, Ningyu had already used the third move. Helpless, the Sioux clan's patriarch could only put away the heavenly pill and exchange blows with Ningyu for the third time. Gotcha! In the third exchange, Ningyu still stood where he was without moving. On the other hand, the Sioux clan's patriarch had retreated even further than before. The second move forced the Sioux clan's patriarch back a few steps. The third move forced him back more than 10 steps. Boom! Similarly, Ningyu took out another heavenly pill and tossed it into his mouth, instantly replenishing all the energy he had consumed. He's cheating. The Sioux clan's patriarch's eyes widened as he complained to Heavenly Lord Rong angrily. He's the only one who can replenish his energy. I'm not allowed to do so. Blinding. The Sioux clan's patriarch's actions were truly blinding. At this moment, even the three geniuses of the Sioux clan felt somewhat embarrassed. Ningyu replenished his consumed energy because others seized the opportunity to seize the opportunity. You didn't have time to replenish your energy. You're clearly lagging behind Ningyu. I really don't understand where you get the courage to complain. The two-horned demonic beast seized the opportunity to mock. I can take on 10 old fogies like you by myself. Fine, you forced me to do this. The Sioux clan's patriarch was completely enraged. The heavenly monarch's origin in his body churned, and the remaining 3/4 of the origin surged out. Finally willing to use the heavenly monarch's origin, seeing the Sioux clan's heavenly monarch's origin, Ningyu's expression turned grave. Ningyu was very clear that this was the real battle. What happened between him and the Sioux clan's patriarch was just a small skirmish. Chi-chi. The heavenly monarch's origin jumped on the Sioux clan's patriarch's fist, letting out a chi-chi sound. Are you afraid? If you are, then kowtow and admit your mistake. Perhaps I can. The Sioux clan's patriarch said sinisterly. Which eye of yours sees that I'm afraid? Ningyu felt that there was something wrong with the Sioux clan's patriarch. He really could not understand why an expert like the Sioux clan's patriarch liked to talk nonsense. Couldn't he just use his full strength? Could it be that there was something else? At this thought, Ningyu unleashed his senses and began to pay close attention to the changes in the Sioux clan's patriarch's body. Gasp! Ningyu sucked in a breath of cold air when he took a closer look. He really did not know if he did not look, but with one look, he was shocked. There was an illusory clone in the Sioux clan's patriarch's body. Although he did not know if the clone was the Sioux clan's patriarch's clone, Ningyu could basically confirm that the overall strength of the clone was extremely powerful. Unless he could advance to the peak Saint Immortal stage, he would definitely not be a match for the clone. I have to think of a way. Ningyu made a prompt decision and took out all the heavenly monarch's origin that he had devoured previously. Furthermore, in order to deal with the clone in the Sioux clan's patriarch's body, Ningyu thought of a way to merge the 10,000 culmination pills, 100,000 lower heaven pills, and 1,000 heavenly pills that he had won from the Sioux clan's patriarch. With so many heavenly pills merged, an extremely terrifying energy was instantly stored in the red demon sword. Ningyu had already thought of a plan. If the clone came out, he would immediately take out the energy and try to destroy the Sioux clan's patriarch while he was careless. You only know how to talk big. The Sioux clan's patriarch bellowed and immediately turned into a shadow as he charged out. Compared to the previous few attacks, the Sioux clan's patriarch had used the heavenly monarch's origin this time, so the power was extremely terrifying. It could be said that even an early-stage heavenly monarch martial artist was not completely confident of winning against the Sioux clan's patriarch. Ning Lu, Su Ying, and the twin-horned demonic beast all clenched their fists tightly, their faces full of anxiety. As for Ningyu himself, he was not too nervous. As long as the Sioux clan's patriarch did not use the hidden clone in his body, it was impossible to defeat him. Rumble. Soon, Ningyu and the Sioux clan's patriarch were engaged in an intense battle. In this intense battle, both sides had used their trump cards. The Sioux clan's patriarch had used the Heavenly Monarch's origin, and Ningyu had also used the Heavenly Monarch's origin that he had obtained previously. Seeing the Heavenly Monarch's origin that Ningyu had used, the Sioux clan's patriarch could not help but shout. He was not a fool. The Heavenly Monarch's origin that Ningyu had used were the two Heavenly Monarchs guarding the Heavenly Prison, the middle-aged man and the Imperial Guard commander. What about you? Have you never seen the Heavenly Monarch's origin before? Chapter 23:20. Swoosh. As soon as he finished speaking, Ningyu flew out in an instant. How could Ningyu let go of such a rare opportunity? The patriarch of the Sioux clan was powerful. Even without using the clone hidden in his body, he was still terrifying. Ningyu knew that although he could win in a head-on clash, it would be a Pyrrhic victory, and he would be severely injured. However, it was different now. The patriarch of the Sioux clan was distracted, and his reaction speed was much slower. This was the best opportunity to fight the patriarch of a Sioux clan. If he missed this opportunity, there would be no more opportunities. Ningyu was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he arrived before the patriarch of the Sioux clan. Chi-Chi, the Heavenly Lord's source on his fist burned, emitting a sizzling sound. In just 1 second, Ningyu's fist landed on the patriarch of the Sioux clan's chest. Bang! The intense pain from his chest sent the patriarch of the Sioux clan flying. Crack! The patriarch of the Sioux clan only stopped when he smashed a stone wall into pieces. Puffed. Blood spurted out his mouth. The patriarch of the Sioux clan's late-stage Saint Immortal aura had dropped to early-stage Saint Immortal. Even the old ancestor of the Sioux clan, who was at the Mastery Saint Celestial stage, could not defeat Ningyu without using his clone. Now that his cultivation had dropped to late-stage Saint Immortal, how was he going to fight against Ningyu? Damn it! The patriarch of the Sioux clan wiped away the blood at the corner of his mouth and looked at Ningyu coldly. Tell me the truth. Did you kill the two heavenly lords in the heavenly prison? Tell you? Why should I tell you? Ningyu shrugged. If I tell you just because you ask, wouldn't I lose face? Face? You still want face? I want you dead. The patriarch of the Sioux clan was extremely furious. With a loud shout, he turned into a blur and charged at Ningyu. Whoosh! However, halfway through his flight, the Sioux clan's patriarch suddenly stopped. Swoosh! An illusory doppelganger suddenly flew out from his body and charged at Ningyu in his place. What will come. Ningyu took a deep breath, and his expression became extremely solemn. He knew that he would have to face the clone of the Sioux clan's patriarch in the end. Rong Tianjun could not help but frown when he saw the clone emerge from the Sioux family's patriarch's body. With his keen senses, he could naturally tell that the clone was from the Immortal Court. Why would a clone of the Immortal Court appear in Koan Sioux City? Heavenly Lord Rong was confused. However, despite his doubts, Rong Tianjun did not intervene. It was not that Rong Tianjun wanted to kill Ningyu, but he had sensed a terrifying aura from Ningyu's fist. That aura was so terrifying that it made one's hair stand on end. At the very least, it would be several tens of thousands of heaven pills. Rong Tianjun decided to wait and see. Unless Ningyu was faced with certain death, he would definitely not make a move. Be careful. Back off. Ningyu retreat. Rong Tianjun did not intervene. Su Ying, Ning Lu, and the double-horned beast shouted a reminder. The three of them were not weak. They could easily tell how terrifying the clone that had emerged from the Sioux clan's patriarch's body was. It was no exaggeration. The strength of the clone was much more terrifying than the Sioux clan's patriarch after his cultivation was suppressed. What do we do now? Su Ying was extremely nervous. If Ning Lu had not pulled her back, she would have already helped Ningyu. Let's wait and see. Ning Lu glanced at the calm, Rong Tianjun, and took a deep breath. Based on my understanding of Ningyu, he will not do anything he is not confident about. Chi. As the person involved, Ningyu wrapped the energy from the melted heaven pills around his fist. When the clone arrived in front of him, he threw a punch. Humph! You want to fight my clone? You're asking for death. Overestimating yourself. What? Seeing that Ningyu wanted to fight the clone, the Su clan's patriarch snorted coldly. However, before the Su clan's patriarch could finish his snort, he saw a horrifying scene. Ningyu's fist slammed into the doppelganger. Crack! Along with a clear and melodious sound rang out. That clone, his absolute trump card, the clone of a major figure from the Celestial Court, had been blasted into two. It's over. In an instant, the Su clan's patriarch was completely disheartened. He knew that if he did not hand Ba Wutian and Su Ying over to that major figure, he would still have a chance to survive. But if he destroyed his doppelganger, then no matter how powerful he was, he would still be killed. Boom! The clone had just been destroyed. A rumbling sound could be heard from the void. Following that, a sinister voice rang out. How dare you destroy my clone? No one in the world can save you. Pucci. As soon as the sinister voice rang out, the Su clan's patriarch's body swelled up and finally exploded into a bloody mess. Gasp! The death of the Su clan's patriarch caused the surrounding cultivators, including Rong Tianjun, to gasp. The others might not know who had made the sound, but Rong Tianjun knew it very well. Half-step Celestial King. That's right. The person who had made the sound was at least a half-step Celestial King. It was even possible that he was a real Celestial King. There were many Celestial Kingdoms in the Celestial Court. In every Celestial Kingdom, there were half-step Celestial Kings or Celestial Kings. What was in Celestial King? Above the Heavenly Lords were the Celestial Kings. If it were not for the restrictions of the Celestial Court, Ningyu, the culprit who had destroyed his clone, would have been cut into pieces. Rong Tianjun's expression turned ugly. Ningyu had offended in Celestial King before he even entered the Celestial Court. It was obvious that he would be hunted down by the Celestial King once he entered the Celestial Court. Should I bring him to the Celestial Court or not? Rong Tianjun frowned and pondered. If he brought Ningyu to the Celestial Court and trained him a little, he would most likely become an expert. He had a great chance of achieving the advanced Heavenly Lord realm in the future. However, if he was brought to the Celestial Court, he would have to face the wrath of the Celestial King. Rong Tianjun was caught in a dilemma. Forget it. I'll just take things as they come. Rong Tianjun decided to bring Ningyu along after some thought. The Celestial Court was about to fall into chaos. Every faction was competing for geniuses. It was a pity to let a peerless genius like Ningyu go. Immortal Emperor, huh? Ningyu wore a stern look too. He had sensed the aura before. In comparison, the auras of the Water Moon Fairy's parents were a lot stronger than the Immortal Emperor. I have to improve my strength as soon as possible. Ningyu took a deep breath and made up his mind. He had to improve his cultivation to the peak sacred immortal realm or even the half-heavenly lord realm before he entered the Celestial Court. Only then would he be able to face the dangers of the Celestial Court. Otherwise, even if he entered the Celestial Court, he would still be cannon fodder, a target that everyone wanted to kill. Zhao Hai, Emohi, do the geniuses of your clans want to have a duel with Ningyu? At this moment, Chapter 23-21. This, Zhao and Emohi looked at each other, and both of them could see the seriousness in each other's eyes. After the fight between Ningyu and the Su family's old ancestor, they had already seen how powerful Ningyu was. Not to mention the younger generation of martial artists. Even if the two of them made a move, they might not be able to take down Ningyu. Under such circumstances, if they let the younger martial artists fight, wouldn't they be pushing themselves into a pit of fire? I won't force you. Heavenly Lord Rome waved at the double-horned demonic beast and said, take out the Immortal Court token. All right. The double-horned demonic beast took out a golden token and handed it to Heavenly Lord Rome. Whoosh! Heavenly Lord Rome flicked his wrist and threw the token to Ningyu. This is the immortal court token, the barrier to enter the immortal court. Seeing Ning Yu catch the token, Heavenly Lord Rong said, when you enter the immortal court, you must carry it with you at all times. Don't lose it, or you will be arrested by the temple's law enforcement team. Understood. Ning Yu put away the token. After some thought, Ning Yu said hesitantly, Heavenly Lord Rong, there is something I would like to ask you. Speak. Heavenly Lord Rong said, pointing at Ning Lu and Su Ying. Ning Yu said, I wonder if the two of them are qualified to enter the immortal court. To enter the immortal court, you must fulfill the following conditions. Heavenly Lord Rong did not answer Ning Yu's question directly. Instead, he said, first, rank in the top 500 of the Heavenly Lord's substitute list. Second, pass my test. Hearing this, Ning Yu's expression became serious. He was not worried about Ning Lu. Ning Lu was very powerful and ranked high on the Heavenly Lord's substitute list. The only thing that worried him was Su Ying. Although Su Ying had reached the peak of the Saint Immortal stage, his overall strength was not enough to rank in the top 500 of the Heavenly Lord's substitute list. He could not even pass the first test, let alone the later tests. There are exceptions to everything. As if sensing Ning Yu's melancholy, Heavenly Lord Rong continued, as long as you can deceive the Heavenly Lord guarding the immortal court, you can bring as many people as you want. Ning Yu rolled his eyes. Deceiving a Lord of Heaven. He was confident that he could hide from the Heaven Monarchs, but who knew what cultivation level those Heaven Monarchs had, and if they had any special Dharma treasures. If it was Zhao Hai and Mo He, the two Heavenly Monarchs, he could easily fool them. Ning Lu, go take the test. Ning Yu decided to put Su Ying's matter aside for the time being. In any case, there were still many warriors in the Red Demon Sword. The Dark Emperor, Bai Zhanfei, and the others were all here. He couldn't possibly search for an immortal court token for everyone, right? Wait. At this time, Zhao stepped forward and coldly said, why should he participate in the assessment? A piece of trash who can't even enter the top 500 of the Heaven Monarch substitute list. What qualifications does he have to participate in the test? Oh. Ning Yu raised his eyebrows and looked at Zhao Hai with interest. He said, how do you know that he can't enter the top 500 of the Heaven Monarch substitute list? Ning Yu's confident attitude made Zhao Hai a little hesitant. If Ning Lu was really as strong as Ning Yu, wouldn't he be in trouble if he stood up for him? He understood the principle of shooting the bird that stands out very well. But soon, he regained his composure. Because he couldn't find any trace of aura on Ning Lu. There were only two possibilities for such a situation. First, Ning Lu had a Dharma treasure that could hide his aura, or he knew how to hide his aura. Second, Ning Lu was a wax figure with a silver spear. He looked good, but was useless. No matter which possibility it was, Zhao Hai had a card up his sleeve. Zhao Yang is a genius ranked 470th on the Heaven Monarch substitute list. Before the assessment, let him spar with Zhao Yang. Zhao Hai grabbed Zhao Yang and said coldly, if he can defeat Zhao Yang, I will naturally acknowledge his strength. But if he can't, then you better get him out of here. No problem. Ning Yu agreed without hesitation. Not to mention Zhao Yang. Even if Zhao Dongming attacked together, they still wouldn't be Ning Lu's match. Zhao Yang, show him what you're made of. Zhao Hai said fiercely. Attack with all your strength, regardless of death or injury. No problem. Zhao Yang stepped out and gathered his immortal chi on his fist. He punched out with a backhand. Bang! In an instant, an afterimage was sent flying backward. Hiss! Seeing the familiar figure that flew out, Zhao Hai's pupils couldn't help but shrink. The one that flew out wasn't Ning Lu, but the Zhao family's genius, Zhao Yang. Zhao Hai didn't expect that someone as strong as Zhao Yang couldn't even block one move from Ning Lu. Pucci! Dark red blood sprayed out. Zhao Yang's eyes rolled back, and he died on the spot. Crack, crack, crack. Zhao Hai clenched his fists in anger at Zhao Yang's death, making cracking sounds. Zhao Hai turned to Mo He and said coldly, it's your turn. Our Mo family forfeits. Mo He wasn't a fool. He had discussed with Zhao Hai before that the two families would send their geniuses to fight against Ning Lu. But now, Ning Lu's display of strength had forced Mo to retreat. As long as there's life, there's hope. In any case, the Mo family was different from the Zhao and Su families. The Su family had completely offended Ningyu. They would never rest until Ningyu was dead. The Zhao family also stood on the opposite side of Ningyu because of the Hong family. Out of the three great families in Kuan-Su City, only the Mo family didn't have much to do with Ningyu. In addition, Ningyu and Rong Tianjun were very close. Going against Ningyu at this time was simply courting death. He turned to Ningyu and cupped his fist. I wonder if there's a chance for fellow Daoists to go to the Mo family for a chat. He's attitude was very low. Even if Ningyu was only a late Saint Immortal, he still didn't dare to be too presumptuous. This was because Ningyu's strength was already on par with him. Winning over such a genius was more effective than fighting against him. Zhao Hai's expression turned fierce when he saw Mo. He's backstabbing. What about you? He rolled his eyes and said, Ningyu is a genius of Kuan-Su City. I'll raise both hands in favor of him, representing Kuan-Su City to the immortal court. Oof. Zhao Hai coldly snorted. Then he brought Zhao Liang and Zhao Doming's corpses towards the Zhao family. Don't. Seeing Zhao Hai leave, the twin-horned monster beast hurriedly said, No need. Let's go. Ningyu patted the beast's shoulder and said, I'll go to the Zhao family another day. Swish. However, before Ningyu could finish his words, he saw a figure dashing over from afar. Ningyu was slightly surprised to see this familiar figure. Zhao Hai. That's right, this figure was Zhao Hai. However, Zhao Yang's corpse and Zhao Doming's corpses were nowhere to be seen. Whoosh! Just as Ningyu was feeling puzzled, the void suddenly split open, and several figures emerged from the void one after another. Heavenly demons. Ningyu's face instantly turned cold as he looked at the many martial artists that appeared in the air. This was because he discovered that these martial artists were not humans, but heavenly demons. Chapter 23-22. Gasp. Apart from Ningyu, even Rong Tianjun and the others gasped. Hundreds of peak stage, Saint Immortal Realm heavenly demons. How terrifying was this force? Of course, Rong Tianjun wouldn't have looked so grim if there were only a few hundred peak stage, Saint Immortal Realm heavenly demons. What made Rong Tianjun look grim was that he discovered two extremely terrifying auras in the void behind the group of heavenly demons. Late-stage Heavenly Lord. Obviously, the true cultivation of the two terrifying auras in the void was at least a late-stage Heavenly Lord. Whoosh! Rong Tianjun and the others didn't have to wait for long. The void split open and two old men in brocade, clothes slowly appeared in front of everyone. I can't believe it. Feeling the aura emanating from the two old men, he cursed on the spot. There were only 3 Heavenly Lords present. He was a peak stage, early stage Heavenly Lord. Zhao Hai was a peak stage, early stage Heavenly Lord, and Rong Tianjun from the Immortal Court. He knew very well that he and Zhao Hai were cannon fodder against so many heavenly demons. Rong Tianjun was the main force. However, the 2 old men in embroidered robes that appeared in front of him made Mo's heart sink to the bottom. No matter how powerful Rong Tianjun was he a match for a late-stage Heavenly Lord Heavenly Demon? Looks like this trip is worth it. The old man's gaze didn't linger on Zhao Hai and Mo. Instead, he turned to Rong Tianjun. The old man smirked and said, I'll give you a chance to live. Submit to me and hand over the Immortal Core token. Otherwise, speaking up to this point. The old man paused for a moment before he unleashed his aura and pressed down on Rong Tianjun. Die. The old man uttered the word die as his aura surged out. Humph. Rong Tianjun snorted and said disdainfully, You 2 pieces of trash can't pose a threat to me. Is that so? At this moment, the void shook again and suddenly cracked open. Crack! An old man in a gray robe slowly walked out of the void. Damn it! Rong Tianjuan's face turned cold when he saw the old man. His cultivation was at the late stage of the heavenly monarch realm. As he had plenty of trump cards, he could deal with 2 late-stage heaven monarch realm heaven demons with ease. But now, the gray-robed elder's cultivation had reached the terrifying peak of the heavenly monarch realm. With his current strength, even if he added his trump cards, it would still be very difficult for him to contend with a peak-stage heaven monarch realm heaven demon. Prince Minghao. The 2 brocade-robed elders hurriedly knelt down and kowtowed. We didn't know that the prince was coming. Please forgive us if we were negligent. Ignorance is not a crime. Minghao waved his hand and said faintly, Seal Koan, Sioux City. Without my permission, don't even let a fly leave. Yes. The 2 old men in embroidered robes immediately stood up, turned around, and flew into the distance. Heavenly Lord Rong watched as the old man in brocade robes left, but he did not do anything. It seemed as if Rong Tianjun was standing still, but that was not the case. He had already used a secret technique to contact the Immortal Court, asking them to send experts over. Prince Minghao's competence was at the top even among all the heavenly demons. Now that he had asked for the token of the Immortal Court, his intention was obvious. He wanted to send the outstanding heavenly demons there secretly. Give me the token. While Heavenly Lord Rong was thinking, Minghao's indifferent voice came into his ears. You should know better than me that you have no chance of winning against me. Even if I have no chance of winning, I still have to try, Heavenly Lord Rong said coldly. All right, I'll fulfill your wish. Minghao's body flashed and turned into a shadow. Almost in an instant, Minghao came in front of Heavenly Lord Rong, clenched his right hand, and punched. Minghao's punch was extremely powerful. Even if Heavenly Lord Rong reached the peak of the heavenly monarch realm, he might not be able to withstand it, let alone a late-stage Heaven Lord Rong. It was a critical moment. Heavenly Lord Rong hurriedly took out a round plate and injected immortal qi into it. With the injection of immortal qi, the round plate became bigger and bigger. In the end, the round plate formed a barrier in front of Heavenly Lord Rong. Bang! Minghao's fist hit the round plate precisely. A clear sound was heard. Minghao raised his eyebrows. He was a little surprised. That was because his all-out attack failed to break the round plate. An immortal king-level Dharma treasure? Minghao's expression was grim. A Dharma treasure that could block his all-out attack had to be at least an immortal king-level Dharma treasure. The round plate in Heavenly Lord Rong's hand looked ordinary, but its level was actually very high. Not bad. Heavenly Lord Rong felt a little calmer. As long as the round plate could block Minghao's attack, he would have a chance to counterattack. It was a coincidence. He had not planned to take the round plate with him. Coincidentally, he had brought the Celestial Kingdom's round plate with him. Who would have thought? It was this inadvertent action that saved his life. Go. Kill them. Minghao was furious. Not only did he rush toward Heavenly Lord Rong, but he also ordered hundreds of heavenly demons at the peak of the same immortal realm to fight against Ningyu and the others. Su-Ying, go into the red demon's sword first. Ningyu cursed under his breath when he saw the heavenly demons moving out together. He forcibly put Su-Ying into the red demon's sword. Although Su-Ying's cultivation was very strong, he would not be able to defeat so many heavenly demons. Let's go. After settling Su-Ying, Ningyu immediately rushed into the crowd of heavenly demons with a red demon sword in his hand. Since 2 late-stage heavenly lords had gone to seal off Koan-Su City, there were no heavenly lords in the army of heavenly demons. Without heavenly lords, Ningyu did not have to worry about anything. Puff, puff, puff. As soon as he rushed into the army of heavenly demons, Ningyu waved the red demon sword and killed several heavenly demons. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Ningyu did not forget to devour these heavenly demons. Every time he killed a heavenly demon, he would spend a second to devour the heavenly demon. Great! Inside the red demon sword, the Dark Emperor and the red demon were extremely excited. Since Ningyu was fighting, The task of devouring heavenly demons naturally fell on them. Fortunately, they were fast enough to devour the heavenly demons at the same time. Otherwise, the speed at which they devoured the heavenly demons would not be able to keep up with the speed at which Ning Yu killed the heavenly demons. Kill! Ning Lu and the double-horned demonic beast were not idle either. Both of them dashed out at the same time, each using their full strength. Hundreds of heavenly demons at the peak of the Saint Immortal stage were indeed terrifying. Ning Lu and the double-horned demonic beast guard worked together to kill the heavenly demons. They did not have Ning Yu's terrifying strength, so they could only use the last resort. After all, even if the two of them worked together, they would definitely not be a match for Ning Yu. Ning Yu could kill heavenly demons without any hindrance, but the two of them could not. So terrifying? Zhao and Mo looked at each other, their faces full of surprise. You're tuning into the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.